All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Friday, December 6th, 3:46 p.m. And we have a lot to discuss. We've got some big stuff coming up over the next hour, potentially. We will see. And we've got some big stuff that has happened today that we're going to end out with on the first Friday of December. First big thing for today, obviously, I think all of you guys know, hard not to be staring at it. Not only did Palantir surpass $73, $74, $75, we surpassed $76, and we almost made a run for 77. 76.82 we hit at about 147. Currently right now, 347. 13 minutes left until the market closes, 76.21. I do think we get a close above 75 unless something happens in the next 15 minutes. Maybe. I mean, it looks like we can get a close above 76, but we're going to see what happens in these next 15 minutes. 6% up on the day. Palantir adding $10 billion in market cap. Absolutely incredible. And it's just been an amazing day for Palantir. On top of that, you got Robinhood up 6.3% on the day as well. At 5:15, so about an hour and a half from now, we will know if Robinhood is one of the 20 names that I'm going to show in a second that could get included into the S&P 500. I'm going to talk about the implications of Robinhood getting into the S&P 500. Got a little bit of a green candle right there, 41.48. And what would happen if they potentially do get in. So at 5:15, which means I'll be live probably until like 6 o'clock today, Eastern Standard Time, for us to know what happens. And then I haven't looked at this all day because I've been a little preoccupied with Palantir and Robinhood. Have you seen Tesla? Tesla's up 4.5% today. I mean, it's at 385. In the morning, we were struggling to hold 375. And this has really happened in the past 20 minutes, where it's made a pretty decent run up here at 385, maybe closing above 386 right now, 385.92. So Tesla, Robinhood, and Palantir, just an incredible day for all of them, and seeing a lot of strength and a lot of momentum. On top of that, at I think 4 p.m. or 4:05, we have Shyam Sankar, who will be on CNBC, and he will be talking about Palantir. One of the things about Shyam Sankar that's very important, I'm sure some of you guys saw the headlines 2 days ago, but Politico reported that Shyam Sankar is being potentially chosen as one of the lead R&D heads of a certain department in the DoD. Something that's very technical, has to do with policy procurement as well. I'm forgetting the exact position name, but ultimately he would have to leave Palantir and go work for the government. Now, if he did work for the government, that is a very specific role that has to do with technology procurement. It's something that the government desperately needs someone like Shyam Sankar to be able to help them on. I interviewed Shyam Sankar on my channel, and he's just one of the most brilliant minds we have in this country. But he would have to leave Palantir. I think he'll be asked about that today. I'm sure he's not going to give a response, but we're going to have to see kind of how he's thinking about that, and ultimately what implications that would have for Palantir. So we got a lot of stuff to get in today, and we also have a lot of stocks that are making moves. Lululemon, Meta, Amazon, all of these guys are having some fun. We did get job numbers today. We added 227,000 jobs ahead of the 220,000 expected. That's kind of why the market itself is doing well. Real quick, let's check the indices. S&P 500 is green on the day, 607, not crazy green, but we are indeed green. The Qs have been going very strong today, up almost 1%, 526. That's because all of the Mag 7 are green as well. Honestly, the one that's underperforming over the past month, small caps. Small caps have not performed better than the NASDAQ, and I think it's primarily because people want to be safe in big tech versus take a risk on small caps. Not to say small caps can't perform very well in 2025, especially as rates come down, but people want to buy Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, and that's where some of the money is going to and has been going to over the past month. On top of that as well, and then we'll get into some of the other headlines, AppLovin is up another 6% today, or was up 9% today. This stock is now up more than 900% for the year, which brings me into the first part that we need to talk about today, which are what are the companies that could get into the S&P 500. And some of those companies are ones that we know. AppLovin, I believe, is one of the names, and that's maybe why it's up today as well, that could get into the S&P 500 today. So here's the list of the 20 companies that could be included into the S&P 500. And I'm curious what you guys think. So there's going to be, I think, 3 of them that are added. So out of this list, which 3 would you have to say could get in? Very curious to see kind of what people have to say. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Victor Lee, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We're going to be live for the next couple of hours, diving deep into what's going on in the markets, what's going on with Palantir, Tesla, who gets into the S&P 500. So we will be here for the next couple hours. Also, we'll be talking about NVIDIA as well. So here are the companies: AppLovin, Apollo Global Management, Southern Copper Corp, Coinbase, Trade Desk, Workday, Block, Datadog, Vertiv, Venus Systems, Carvana, Robinhood, Carnival Corp, Global Foundries, and then a bunch of other names. There's 3 of them that are going to get picked. Look, my perspective on this in the context of Robinhood is, well, first of all, let's talk about this. If a lot of people have been saying, hey, Amit, if Robinhood gets in, is it going to be similar to Palantir, right? Where Palantir was at $30 when they got in, now they're at 70. Could that happen to Robinhood? Yeah, it could, but there's a couple of different dynamics here. Number one, Palantir's in a different sector. They're in a thematic called AI, which is very, very exciting to the market. Robinhood is in financial services. Now, in their investor day, and I'm going to do an actual investor day recap because I haven't fully recapped everything they've talked about later, but they talked about a lot of agentic ideas. We're hearing this concept of agents a lot in AI in their platform. So they are in the AI space, but not really in the AI space in terms of what Palantir is going after. So it's a different sector. Number two, Robinhood has 85% institutional holdings. Palantir had less than 50% before the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 people had to buy Palantir because they were underallocated to Palantir. The benefits of retail is that we were buying when no one believed, right? So that's why there's been this massive gain. Robinhood is already owned by the institutions a lot. So will there be some more buying? Yeah. Will it be as crazy as Palantir? I don't know. And then on top of that, what happens to the stock? I would imagine it gets a little bit of a boost, but I don't know if it has to be as big of a boost as Palantir. But could it be? Yeah, if we just get a lot more people coming in. Now, the other thing that's really important about this is Robinhood did their investor day. And the reason they did their investor day is because I believe they wanted to sound mature enough to get included into the S&P 500. Tesla right here at 386, trying to make a run for 387. And so everything they've done this year, along with their execution to me, has shown they are one of the companies that absolutely deserves, if not the company on that list that most deserves to be in the S&P 500. But if it doesn't happen, I'm sure it'll probably happen in 2025. And so today we're going to see kind of ultimately how that plays out. Palantir right here, 76.37. So let's talk about Palantir. Palantir up 6.25% on the day. Pretty incredible, right? We got a bunch of people right here that are loving Palantir. John right here is up $61,000 on Palantir. This is what I tweeted today. And, I've said this many times, but on a day like this, when Palantir is reaching new all-time highs, it's time to say it again. Palantir made the little guy rich because the little guy believed when no one else didn't. And that is what makes me the happiest about this journey. I think that's what makes management and leadership at Palantir the happiest about that journey. We know Alex Karp has always been a little bit, you could say, antagonistic against Wall Street and analysts, and he has never had that type of relationship with retail because he knows that retail actually thinks for themselves, and they believed when no one else didn't. So nurses, policemen, people with regular 9-to-5s invested in Palantir at 7. Money managers have to invest in them at 75 because they didn't believe, they didn't understand the story back then. So it is absolutely incredible to kind of see how this is playing out. You got a lot of people that are upset. Why do you have a lot of people that are upset? Because the valuation, and I will agree, the valuation is hard to make sense of at $170 billion market cap. I'm not going to be able to justify that. $173 billion, I'm sorry. But I think this is one of those things where it's a stock that's always going to be expensive. Amazon didn't make money for years. They were seen to be expensive. Tesla didn't make money for years. They were expensive. And those stocks have obviously turned out to be really good investments because they grew into the future growth that the street thought they would be able to do. There is a world in which that happens for Palantir. Final thing on Palantir, and then we'll get into a couple other headlines before we get into the close. We also have Bitcoin here at 100,000. The actual reason I think Palantir is up today is a combination of the Booz Allen Hamilton deal we got this morning. We partnered with Booz Allen Hamilton, which is one of the biggest defense software contractors for the government. We got a new deal with them. That's important. That means there's probably going to be more government growth, or at least the street is expecting there to be more government growth. And on top of that, David Sachs, one of the only guys on the All In podcast who actually has a position in Palantir stock, he's publicly admitted that, is best friends with Peter Thiel. He's best friends with JD Vance, and he's also best friends with Elon Musk. So you've got David Sachs, who's now the AI czar, who's in Trump's ear talking about different potential AI software platforms and deals that can make the government more efficient and regulation to be better. I think the market's thinking, well, wait a second, that is a obvious connection to Palantir, and maybe that means more Palantir government growth, which is ahead of the expectations that Wall Street had for government growth a couple of months ago. And so that is my logic for why Palantir is up on the day. Ultimately, they have to grow into the valuation, but I do think that can happen given the narratives that are forming currently around Palantir. Andy, thank you for the $20 super chat, bro. I only own Palantir because of you. Thank you for that. A lot of you guys have been DMing me and messaging and sending that stuff. Look, it's very humbling. It's very, very, very humbling. Obviously, I built my entire channel around the stock. It was kind of a all or nothing bet. Either this company is going to be what it is, and my analysis, the 2,000 videos of analysis, will have made sense, or it's not. And at $8, honestly, it wasn't that risky of a bet to make, because at that point I was already down 80% on the stock. It's like you might as well stick with it. But also, because you were down so much, you meaning me and everyone else, it forced you to do due diligence. I mean, it forced you to actually understand what the hell are you even investing in. And it turned out to be one of, I think the greatest stories, obviously, of the past couple of years, and maybe one of the greatest stories over the next couple of decades. So there you go. Palantir 76.32. We got 4 minutes until the close. Tesla is pumping into the close, baby. 388. I told you guys, I said I was going to have to DCA into Tesla at 400 in 2025. I think I'm going to probably have to DCA at 400. And you know what? I'm going to proudly be buying at 400 because I don't care. You can't get all of them early. Obviously, a lot of my money was tied up this year into 2 other names that, I'm not really sad my money was there. But Tesla at 388, I'm probably going to have to be buying it at 400, and that's okay. It's not going to go straight up. There's probably going to be ups and downs. There's going to be volatility. So selling puts and calls against it also is probably not going to be the craziest idea. But I do think the robotics argument is just getting started. And I'm saying this not even from just like my own ideological assumptions around it. Bank of America put out a note for the first time around Optimus. And you know what makes Bank of America so like ridiculous? And this is not shade at Bank of America or anything, but they're raising their price target from 360 to 400 based on Optimus growth. If they actually understood Optimus, they would not think it's worth $40. They would be raising it to like 700 over the next 2 years, but obviously that takes guts to make that type of a call, and they probably don't feel safe enough doing that, which is why it's not factored in, which is not why it's not priced in. And once Tesla starts showing real growth with Optimus, it takes one deal for them to say, hey, Walmart's buying 100,000 robots from us. Boom, it's over. Game over. Tesla wins, and the humanoid robotic market is going to be here. So Tesla right here, 389. Looks like maybe we get a close above that 387 level here on Tesla, potentially 390. That would be awesome to see. Carlos, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. Really appreciate that, Carlos. Thank you for that super chat. John says Tesla's my first 6-figure position. I love it. Absolutely incredible. Broccoli Bob says I was down 70%. Yeah, dude, 27 to $6. At one point, Palantir was like 584. So like all of us, I think at one point, if we bought in the 20s, we're down pretty aggressively. Amit made holding the bag manageable. Well, this whole community, I think, made holding the bag manageable because it wasn't just me. It was all of us coming together on the live streams. 2 years of Palantir Weekly. We'll have Palantir Weekly tonight at 11 p.m. We'll have a lot to talk about. All of us made this whole thing make sense. And so it's just been an amazing ride with this entire community. And again, as crazy as it sounds, guys, I really do think we're just getting started. Like Palantir is in year 4 of being a public company, really year 2 of hitting their stride. This is a long story in a very big sector called AI that is now just having multiple verticals that are popping up. And that's obviously going to be very important. NVIDIA right here down about 1.88% on the day. So NVIDIA got a little bit of a hit. Now Meta, why was Meta up today? Well, TikTok looks like it's really going to be banned. There was another, I don't think it was a vote by Congress, but some type of vote that was in the House today or in the Senate, and it does look like TikTok is going to be banned. There's not going to be an appeal of it. They have till January 19th to make the decision on TikTok. So either a U.S. company is going to buy it, maybe X. Some people have been floating out might buy TikTok. I don't think that's necessarily possible, but that's why Meta is up right now. Also, Zuckerberg said 500 million people were using Meta AI last month. Now 600 million people are using Meta AI. 100 million more people are using their AI product. This is very similar to what Sam Altman said. 250 million weekly active users were using ChatGPT last month. Now it's 300 million. All of that to say, AI products are in high demand and people are using them, meaning the ROI and use cases of these products, definitely at the consumer level, we're seeing it on the enterprise level with things like Palantir and the use cases they're showing are real, which means this entire thematic, this sector seems to be more real than what we can think. And over the next decade, it seems like it's going to be growing even more, which is why Meta right here is currently at 623. All right, 15 seconds into the close, Palantir and Hood. Let's see what we get. An incredible day. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Friday, December 6th, 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed. Palantir closes at 76.34, up 6.22% on the day. Their highest close ever. And they have hit an all-time high. Robinhood closes at $41.67, their first $40 close in well over 3 years, up 7% on the day. And in the next hour and 15 minutes, we will know if Robinhood has been included into the S&P 500. Tesla closes at $389. This is the highest closing price since April 2022 for Tesla. Just shy of $390, up 5% on the day. Look at those green candles right into the end of the close. You had some big buyers stepping in saying, we are ready to get some more Tesla exposure. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. There we go. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. Are we getting a Palantir Weekly tonight? Yes, we will get a Palantir Weekly, 11 p.m. Eastern. We will be here talking about Palantir. Now, look, on Palantir, Amir has done some math. You guys know Amir on the Palantir Weekly. And he just put out a video, so I recommend watching it on his channel, but we'll talk about it tonight. And the math he did was around employee SARs. SARs are the kind of free shares that employees get if the stock is above 70 for a certain amount of time. Obviously, we're above 70. The company has been able to issue those SARs. Employees don't have to execute it, but they can. And the company potentially has to recognize that as an expense, from my understanding. That could lead, based on what Amir is saying after he looked at the math today, and again, we'll talk about this on Palantir Weekly, to a potential miss on EPS. That could be something to think about going into Q4 earnings if that SARs expense leads to a miss on EPS. Not that we're not going to be profitable, but we might not match expectations. Now, again, if that happens and that creates a dip, and this is what I was kind of talking about in the morning, if we do go back to 50, I don't think anyone's going to care that much, right? Like, no one's going to blame CARP if we go back to 50. No one's going to blame management or lack of execution. Everyone in this chat knows, everybody knows that this thing is getting very extended because it's running up really quick and there's a lot of FOMO. But the good thing about it is it's institutional FOMO over regular FOMO. And we can see this in the numbers. Institutional holdings went from 44% to 55% over the past 3 months, which means if that's the case, if there's any small metric Palantir misses on, which happens as a company, like that stuff happens, this could get hit. But does it get hit 50%? I don't think so. And does it get hit 10%? I don't know. All I know is the street wants Palantir. Does it even get hit if they miss on EPS? Does the street actually care that much because they just want so much exposure? I don't know. And so there's a lot of questions left in terms of what this valuation implies. But the one thing I think we can't deny is that the market absolutely wants more Palantir. And we're seeing it today, up 6.22%, $173.9 billion market cap is what Palantir ends the day on. Amazon right here ends up 2.94%. That's a big deal for a $2.39 trillion company. Amazon 227. That is also at an all-time high. MicroStrategy at 395. Bitcoin back above 100,000. We fell to 92,000 yesterday. That was quite the flush from 104 to 92. Now back at 109. We did hit 102 today, which was awesome. Marathon right here up 6.62%. SMCI was up 6.78%. Let's look at Tesla again. Tesla right here. Oh, Tesla 391 after hours. Incredible. Tesla up about 0.5% after hours. Microsoft 443. That's up. Apple was down today, 242. Meta 623. That's up 2.4%, new all-time high. Google back to 176. Amazon 227. NVIDIA was down a little bit today, 142, down about 1.81%. And then Tesla right here, 391 after hours, up 0.5% on the day. Coinbase, where did Coinbase go? I didn't take a look at Coinbase. Coinbase right here, 343. Coinbase was up 7% on the day as well. Obviously, Bitcoin is going up, which is great, but also Coinbase could get into the S&P 500 today, and that could be a reason why Coinbase is getting some momentum. Bitcoin right here at 101,000. Okay, so let me pull up CNBC. I don't know when Shyam is going to be on the show, but I imagine it's going to be, probably 4:15 is. He's not on right now, so let's aim for 4:15, 4:30, and we'll see when he's on the show. Palantir Hotline says Booz Allen will drop Databricks and partner with Palantir instead on DoD recompete of Advana 10-year, $15 billion program. Are you saying, Palantir Hotline, that that's going to happen, or are you saying that's happened? I think it could happen. The question is, do they see value in Palantir over Databricks? Which I've talked to people that are using both platforms, and there's there's like symbiotic elements to where both of them match, but there's also large government agencies that have like really shitted on Databricks of not really giving the value that they've been asking for. Databricks right here just raised that evaluation of, I think, 60 billion. They're probably going to go public at something to 70, 80 billion. What Databricks is going to use is Palantir's valuation to justify an IPO of probably closer to 100 billion. And when that happens, we're going to have to see if there's liquidity out there to be able to buy it. Palantir right here after hours at 670, 655. But I could see other agencies saying, hey, we don't want to use Databricks. We want to use Palantir, especially in the government space, which would be very, very special for Palantir. He says the current Advana is not scalable. They are recompeting to have a more scalable system. Yeah, that is possible. And ultimately, we're going to have to see how that plays out. M. Bannypole, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate that, M. Bannypole. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Prasant says, I invested in Hood and Palantir after I started watching you. I at least have to credit you for putting those ideas in my head, if not give you all the credit. Thank you, Prasant. Appreciate that. And thank you for being part of the journey over the past year as well. Doug says Databricks is just not as appealing in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, Databricks to me, and again, I don't know everything about them, but they remind me more of Snowflake in terms of a system that can be a little bit more commoditized than not, versus what Palantir is doing, which is providing value. And look, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the market to decide which one's valuable or not. But we also have to be a little humble here, right? Like I've been saying for the past couple of years, I think Palantir is differentiated. I think they have a moat, but it doesn't matter what I say anymore. The market is valuing Palantir at $173 billion. That is 65 times their sales on a price to sales basis. The average for a software company is eight times price to sales. The fact that the market is willing to give them 8 times more than the average price to sales of a software company just means that the market is fully realizing Palantir is a differentiated product that has a moat. Now, and I'm stressing this point because I'm saying it's not hype. You could say the valuation's up there and that could be a little bit of hype, but I'm saying Palantir as a concept is not hype anymore. Like it is like legit real because you don't get a $173 billion market cap by retail. You have to get it by the biggest fund managers and capital allocators in the world. Now it's going to be up to Palantir to live up to the growth to justify that valuation, but it doesn't mean that the market doesn't see the vision of Palantir. And really they see the vision of Palantir because people like Alex Karp and Shyam have done an incredible job communicating that. And you know, they've been able to show the world why it is so important. Player one says, or Palantir has become a meme stock. I just disagree with that. I really do. I can understand why the outsider would think, oh, Palantir is a meme stock, looking at the metrics. Like, and I wouldn't even blame them. I would get like that if you just didn't know anything about the company, looking at the metrics, you would say that. But I think if you did a little bit of research into the company, I would not say it's a meme stock by any stretch of the imagination. Is it a very expensive stock? Yes. You can put as many varies in front of expensive as you want to make the point. But I don't think it's necessarily a meme stock. You know, just given what Palantir is doing and how they're navigating and the countries they're working with, like this is the real deal. And the market is definitely starting to recognize this as well. Amit, are you scared we lose our CTO to a government job? You know, I don't know how to feel about Shyam potentially leaving Palantir. I think he's one of the smartest guys in the world. I would hate to lose him. I also understand that he's been at the company for 20 years. He might want to move on to something different. That's just kind of human nature. He might want to serve the country and you know, do it in the Trump administration from this perspective. I don't know. I would not like to see him leave, but you know, at the end of the day, it's his life. He has to make his own decisions. So I think maybe we'll definitely get a reaction out of him today. I think on CNBC when they ask him the question, and we'll try to read some body language and see what's going on here. Or maybe they won't even ask him. I don't know. But look, I think Shyam's got to do what's best for him. I would love for him to stay at the company though, because I think the reason we're here today is also because of Shyam. So ultimately, we'll have to see how that plays out. Did I hear a sneeze? Yes, you heard a sneeze because the plumber is back. The plumber is back. And I really hope they don't do any drilling or anything while we're trying to figure out if Robin is getting to the S&P 500. So we'll see. We will see. Any bad news for AMD? I don't think so. AMD has been sold off. Oh, it's down 2% on the day. No, I don't think there was any bad news today. I think just the semis kind of sold off towards the end of the day. Nvidia sold off as well. So I don't think there was any particular news, but we talked to Jose this morning. He's buying AMD here. He likes it. He thinks the expectations are really low compared to the stock, given it's sold off. And that is why he seems to think it has some juice in it. All right, some headlines. Let's run through that, and then we'll get Shyam on. We'll get Shyam on CNBC. First of all, the number of $1 million accounts on Fidelity in 401ks has officially reached an all-time high. So there are now about 450,000 401k millions on Fidelity. Again, the 401k, or a lot of 401ks for employees, are just invested in the market, index funds, mutual funds, etc. Because the markets have gone up at this point almost 30% year to date, you got some new millionaires that are minted in Fidelity. So you do have a broad-based market rally, and that is leading to a lot of people that even if you're just allocated to the S&P and the Qs, you have started to do well. Zuckerberg on Meta. Let's listen to what he had to say on Meta AI and the growth that they have seen now as well.
All right. Hey, guys. I've got our last big AI update of the year. Our goal at Meta is to build general intelligence and open source it so that way everyone benefits. Meta AI now has nearly 600 million monthly actives and, as promised, is on track to be the most used AI assistant in the world by the end of the year. If you haven't gotten a chance to try voice mode yet, try it. It's awesome. Now, I started 2024 talking about how we had a bunch of H100s, that this was going to be a big year for open source AI. And it has been. Llama has quickly become the most adopted model with more than 650 million downloads. And it is...
By the way, Llama's open source, 650 million downloads on an open source model. This is why I think a lot of people keep saying that the LLMs are going to become commodities. What moat does OpenAI have if Zucks can buy a bunch of H100s and build a model and then have that be downloaded hundreds of millions of times, right? I think that is the broader question a lot of people are trying to figure out.
Starting to become an industry standard. We have one more release for the year. Llama 3.3 is a new 70 billion parameter text model that performs about as well as our 405 billion parameter model, but now it is easier and more efficient to run. So that is the last Llama 3 release. The next stop is Llama 4. And if we started the year talking about the size of our clusters for training Llama, I want to start to wrap the year by doing the same. We just announced that we were building a 2 gigawatt plus data center in Louisiana that we're going to use to train future versions of Llama. We are in this for the long term, and we are committed to building the most advanced AI in the world. All right. Thank you for a great year so far. I'm looking forward to sharing more soon.
600 million monthly actives on Meta AI. 600 million monthly actives, 650 million downloads on Llama. I mean, it just goes to show that some of the growth in AI that's happening right now is not stopping. And when you ask yourself, why is money going in Palantir? When you see what happened to Salesforce this week with their earnings, 361, they're up 10%. When you see what's happening with Meta and consumer AI adoption, it's here. The age of AI is here. Also, here was an article that came out today that Brett Adcock, CEO of Figure, who is in the humanoid robotic space, shared. We haven't talked a lot about this idea, even though I mentioned it here and there, but it was an article from Seeking Alpha. Here's a screenshot of it. Someone said that, hey, wait a second, NVIDIA can have a tailwind based on Figure AI robots. And the basic thesis here is that A, in these robots, you're going to have NVIDIA chips. So the more robots, the more demand for NVIDIA. B, more companies are going to decide that they want to compete in the robotic space, and they're going to be paying NVIDIA for those chips. And C, NVIDIA invested in Figure. And so you've got another tailwind for NVIDIA, which is humanoid robotics. The question becomes, when does humanoid robotics become like really real? And I think none of us know the answer to that question yet, but a lot of people are thinking that it's getting ready, given Tesla is starting to ramp up. And a lot of people are thinking that Tesla is going to be one of the big winners. Tesla after hours right here, 389. Rocket Lab had a good day, up 3% of the day. Robinhood, 41.52 after hours. Palantir, 76.44 after hours, up 0.13%. Again, Amazon as well had an incredible day, up 3% as well. Rumble CEO wants to tip content creators on the platform using Bitcoin. I don't hate that idea. I don't hate the idea. Rumble already put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, about 20 million of it. I think it kind of makes sense. Rumble was up 20% of the day. David Sachs invested in Rumble. The whole David Sachs part of the White House stuff. I think that's what took Rumble up. But I think as Bitcoin becomes normalized, I think a lot of people will want to be paid in Bitcoin. And think about that: when you can get paid in Bitcoin and not convert it for cash or for US dollars, it's just going to lead to more and more adoption of Bitcoin, more and more buying power of Bitcoin, buying pressure of Bitcoin as well. So also, it's a really good strength on Bitcoin, dude. We went from 104 to 92. And if you had a chance to buy a 92, 93, you're already up. It's back at 101. And we broke through 100, really kind of easily, like 2 days ago. I mean, and once we broke through 100, it went to 104 that night, then came all the way back down to 92, now back at 100. It does feel like 100 is being normalized more and more. And we're seeing some of that momentum right now here on Bitcoin. Okay, let's get an update on kind of what's going on in the markets with some macro stuff. I think we have Shyam Sankar coming up in probably 10 minutes. And then we'll keep going from there.
Most expectations, also outperforming history in some senses. I ran this chart before we got to the first Fed rate cut in this cycle, which was in September of this year. And it suggested, there was a lot of talk of, sometimes the market really struggles after the first rate cut. And it all was going to be determined by whether you get a recession in the year following that initial cut. So this path right here is all those scenarios where you basically had a soft landing and there was no recession the following year. We are now outperforming that to date at this point. And then, of course, you see if there had been a recession, then you were going to actually suffer and you were going to have downside to the equity market, as you always do in a recession. And therefore, the Fed, in their initial rate cut, could not save you. So things are going roughly according to plan. Maybe we're ahead of the game a little bit here. Of course, there's variation around the averages. I would point out, too, the market itself is up like 35% on a one-year basis. There's never been a recession in the ensuing 9 or 12 months after the market had been up that much. So it's itself telling you probably not a lot of macro risk right now. here you go. The high beta parts of this market, that's the SPHB. That's the faster moving, more volatile stuff on a 5-year basis, really pulling away. So you see here, sometimes it's coming out of a major low that happens. Sometimes it's an acceleration phase in the bull market. Low volatility stocks did their job.
Guys, today's Friday. Yesterday was the money market update. I didn't check it yesterday because I was busy at the Palantir event. No one wanted to remind me on Twitter. So we're going to check it out together. All right, here we go. Now, remember last week on Thanksgiving week, thank you to Vlad Nazarov in the chat. I like your name, Vlad, for reminding me. So here we go. Money markets. We're going to find out right now. On Thanksgiving week, it went up by 22 billion. I'm finding out together with you guys. Never mind. I looked at it too early. Oh, my goodness. All right. Now that I looked at it. Oh, boy. Let's just show it. I was going to do a poll. Forget it. Let's just show it. 95 billion increased. What is happening? How is it up 95 billion and the markets are at an all-time high and Bitcoin's at how is this happening? Like, what is going on, bro? Oh, my goodness. By the way, we got Steve on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Steve, what's up? You're live.
I have a theory about what you just said.
Please, because I need an answer. Please give me a theory.
I could be 100% incorrect. But
Steve. I love how you protect yourself from your takes every time. It's actually it's a strong strategy, but go ahead.
Well, I said it's a theory, not a definite. It's a theory. But it could be that you have CDs maturing, and instead of re-rolling into a new CD, they're just letting it sit in a money market until they figure out what they're going to do with it.
But 95 billion worth of it, like that feels like fresh money.
If you had $6.6 trillion in money market accounts, I am sure that there is a lot of money in CDs, 3, 6, 12-month CDs. It could have been money terming. I mean, I don't think people are going to cash right now. I think that's crazy talk.
Well,
nothing else makes sense.
Take a look at this. I don't know if you can see the screen right here, but
I'm driving.
Okay, so I'm reading from the list. Out of the 95 billion, 74 billion came from institutional assets. Retail money market funds increased by 21 billion. So, I mean, unless retail investors had a ton of CDs that were expiring that they then transitioned into money market funds, that's fresh new cash coming in. That another theory for it, Steve, people could be selling. Someone else could be buying their stocks and they could be taking their money and saying, let's go put it in something safe.
Yeah, we could, except for why would you tax loss harvest this year when there's a halfway decent chance you're going to get a capital gains cut next year? It's a much more viable solution to wait it out and sell next year and pay less taxes, because you know that Trump's going to have to negotiate with his own party on how far he's going to go. Capital gains could be on the list. I don't think people are selling right now, and the market sure as hell doesn't seem like it is.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, obviously, when you see some of the price actions we're seeing, we're not getting a lot of sell side pressure. So I think your theory could be correct that it might not be fresh new money. It could be CDs expiring. But that is pretty wild to see 95 billion. I mean, we have 6.77 trillion on the sidelines at this point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe somebody in your chat would know. I'm not in the banking industry, but when a CD terms, if you do not lock in another CD, where does that money go to? Does it sit in the money market, or does it go into either your checking or savings account? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, we got Shyam on CNBC starting just now. I'm going to play that, Steve, and then we will talk right after.
Yeah.
All right, well, Palantir has been the best stock in the S&P 500 this year. It's up a whopping 340%. It closed at another record high today after announcing a new partnership with Booz Allen Hamilton, sending shares of both of those stocks higher. The deal will focus on two key areas: modernizing information infrastructure and enhancing collaboration and mission planning with allies using data-driven systems. So joining me now from the Reagan National Defense Forum is Shyam Sankar, Palantir Chief Technology Officer. It's great to speak with you.
It's great to be back with you, Morgan.
So let's start right there, because this is a key partnership. Certainly the market's focused on it today, but you've actually had a flurry of partnerships that you've been announcing here in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot to what, in the words that I like to say, to rebuild the American industrial base. We forget that the industrial base that won World War II and won the Cold War, only 6% of spending went to defense specialists. Actually, most of the money went to what I call dual purpose companies. Chrysler used to build cars and missiles. Ford built satellites until 1990. And so how do we broaden the aperture of who can provide the cutting edge capabilities we need to deter conflict? And that's important because it's very clear that the West has lost deterrence. We have North Korean generals getting wounded in Ukraine. We've had a pogrom in Israel. We have Iran months away from getting a bomb. And we need to rally together as a country to organize around this problem.
So when you talk about losing deterrence, how do you reinstate that? How quickly does that happen? What is the role that AI plays in it, which is something I know Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir, has talked about
Absolutely.
quite a bit.
I think AI is the determinative factor because you need a technological offset, something that you can do much better than your adversary that's going to continue to scare them and tell them today is not the day to pick the fight. It is not a coincidence that the leading frontier AI labs are in the US. It's not a coincidence that the US commercial market is exploding because of the rate of adoption of AI. So we have something special in this country that we know how to do this. We need to bring that to our military. Our military, I would give them a lot of credit. They started this program with the crash program Maven in 2017, 2018. But now I'd say over the last 2 years, the rate of adoption, there's been a huge inflection there, driven in part by real world events like the Afghan NEO and events in Ukraine, but applying all of that to the Pacific right now where we need the most deterrence.
You just mentioned Maven, and I think it's a good time to revisit that because as you mentioned, 2017, 2018, there was a big up in arms about that program at Google. We saw them step away from it. Palantir stepped in. It's obviously been a very big success story to the extent that it can be talked about publicly. Flash forward to now, 6 years later, we are seeing all these partnerships being struck, whether it's you with Booz Allen Hamilton or Anthropic last month, or whether it's Anduril with OpenAI as OpenAI moves further into this space, even Meta with Llama being made available for national security. It really seems like we've gone 180 degrees, and I wonder why that has happened now.
Well, I think, one, this is a development we should obviously welcome. And two, I think events in Ukraine really woke people up to realize that actually the individual liberties and freedoms that we have, we can't take for granted, and that all of us in this country have a responsibility to contribute towards not only the prosperity we enjoy, but the freedom that's required to have that prosperity.
So I have to ask, because there's been reports this week that you are under consideration for a position in the Pentagon under the Trump administration. Is that true?
Well, Morgan, all I say is I'm very happy at Palantir. As you know, I've been at Palantir 19 years. I joined as the 13th employee, and I think we have an opportunity to build a generational company. We have done 1% of what is possible, and I'm excited to pursue that.
All right, so Shyam says he's excited to be at Palantir. They've done 1% of what they need to do, and based on that it seems to be his answer to the question on if he's thinking of leaving.
Think, regardless, looking at the Trump administration and some of the folks that are being assembled, either in official or unofficial capacity around it. I think about David Sachs being appointed AI and crypto czar just last night, a number of defense tech related folks and so-called PayPal mafia, which Palantir was born out of, being involved in this administration. Do you think that this conversation around dual use technologies and around adoption of new technologies and new capabilities and thinking about contracting differently actually manifests?
I'm very excited about the possibility of change. You know, in order for change to happen, it's not like the generals don't view the necessity of change or Congress doesn't view it. You need to believe that there's something worse than change. And I think there's a broad consensus that we are in an undeclared state of emergency, and I think we're going to see a huge amount of change. I give you the inverse of Bill Gates' quote. You know, he always says, we underestimate what can be done in 10 years, overestimate what's going to happen in 2. I think in the department, we underestimate what we can accomplish inside of 2 years, inside of the Davidson window, and we spend too much time thinking about how the world will be different in 10 years.
And of course, you did pen a report on this called Defense Reformation that came out a couple of weeks ago as well. So you have some pretty strong thoughts on all this. You mentioned commercial, so I want to segue over to commercial because obviously it's been a big growth area. It's still a smaller business than what you have going on the government side, particularly the U.S. government side. But U.S. commercial customers have been adopting very quickly. How is that process going? And I guess when you look to 2025 or beyond, is there a point at which private sector starts to adopt more aggressively than public?
Well, of course, the total market in the commercial world is bigger. And actually, at this point, we're about 50-50. And so I think you can expect that sort of trend to continue. What you really see is the opportunity with autonomy. I don't mean killer drones. I actually mean in businesses. How do I automate the insurance underwriting process? How do I automate the discharge process at hospitals? How do I help drive automation into the process of creating new products like automotive seats? So the impact in construction, manufacturing, and healthcare, it's tremendous. It's reducing the dwell time, all this idle time that we've accumulated in our economy, this essentially dead weight loss. AI provides us a real opportunity to drive efficiency, and that's going to unlock economic growth.
Are you still doing boot camps, or is
Absolutely.
the demand beyond that?
I think so. With AI, you have this supply-demand dynamic. We've been so focused on AI supply, the model side. And what we see is the models are getting better all the time, but across closed and open models, the open source and proprietary models, they're getting more similar. And I think where the emphasis in the market is shifting is on the demand side. Okay, great. We have this magical stochastic genie. How do we use it to get economic value? And the boot camp is the way to experience that. You're going to leave an 8-hour session with a production-ready or near production-ready use case that ignites your imagination. And that's been a very effective motion for us.
All right, Shyam Sankar of Palantir. So great to have you here. Thank you. And we have much more.
All right, there you go. Steve, first thoughts on what you heard?
Well, this is going to 90 next.
Steve, your connection's a little bad. Yeah, we're gonna have to get you back, Steve. Okay, there you go. You're good. I think. Did he say 90 next week or 99 next week? Yeah, Steve, you'll have to rejoin, or you'll have to unpress mute if you're muted. Matt's Money says, I wonder if Shyam's a billionaire yet. He's probably getting mad shares plus what he's received over his 19 years. Well, we know he's definitely a 300 millionaire from the stock sale that he had this week. Potentially a billionaire. Yeah, let me text Steve. He probably needs to rejoin. Rejoin. All right, so let me get my thoughts on what I got here with this interview. Carp disconnected him because of the low price target. Yeah, I think my text didn't even send through, so I think he lost connection. Okay, so in terms of what I heard. So first of all, on the question of if he's leaving, he said the right thing, right? Which is, I'm very happy to be a Palantir. But then again, that's what everyone says, right? So I don't know how much to read into that. Dude, I don't know. I don't know if he's leaving. I mean, there's not much I could get from that. I obviously he would get paid a lot less if he worked for the government versus at Palantir. Now, granted, most of his compensation is stock. So if he kept all of his stocks but moved on to a different job, if the stock still went up, he would still make money, even if he's not working day to day. But he also said he was the 13th employee at the company. I don't know if you easily leave when you're the 13th employee of the company. You know, that's a pretty emotional thing to do. Now, granted, it has been 20 years, so maybe he's ready to move on. But I don't think we can get too much from that interview. In terms of what he said about the government space and the commercial space, what I got from that is that there's a lot of growth left in this industry. There is a lot of AI momentum from the commercial sector. And also every single institution, government entities or commercial agencies, are starting to realize they need a plan to digitally transform because their competitors, in the case of the United States, Russia and China, and if you're a company, if you're Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, they all have this idea of how they can become more efficient and more productive via AI. And if you don't have a plan, you're getting left behind. And I think companies like Palantir ultimately step in and say, hey, you don't have a plan, we can give you a plan, and we have a much better way to accelerate that plan in a more meaningful way. By the way, I spoke to one of the head of sales at Palantir yesterday, Kevin Koloski, I think is his last name. But I was talking to him yesterday at the pre, and I was saying, so I asked him so how did this boot camp thing even get started, right? Like what is your interpretation? Because I've heard multiple stories of how the boot camps and the idea of boot camps got started. And Morgan asked him about boot camps, and he says they're still doing boot camps. And he said, one day I was talking to a client that had a big account, and or that didn't have an account at all with Palantir, and they said, Palantir used to do these 6-month pilots back in 2021 trying to get people in. And that client was like, we don't have time for 6 months. And so that's when Kevin, who's one of the head of sales at Palantir, he came up with the idea. He was like, well, what if you give us a weekend and we can show you something? And that client was like, yeah, sure. If you can do it in a weekend, then that's possible. And that's when they got the idea of oh, this whole 6-month pilot thing is stupid. What if we just build them something small, but it shows off a use case really quick, and it'll take relatively small time to do that, right? Because Palantir is the best engineers in the world. And then they're more likely to develop a relationship that could lead to a 3-month, 6-month, 12-month, and then multi-year deal. And that's kind of how it started. So when it comes to boot camps, again, the idea is that the product sells itself, but also the inception of that idea was around the concept of, hey, let's speed up the time to value in a very small way so that we can accelerate it in a very large way. But in order to do that, you actually have to believe that your product has that value. And obviously Palantir does believe that, which is why they've been able to successfully do boot camps. So Palantir right here, 76.60 after hours, up another 1/3%. It was up 6% on the day. Now, year to date, let's take a look at what we have on Palantir. I believe we're at 380% year to date. We are 360%. 360% year to date. Pretty much what Shyam said is nothing too new, but also just underlines the fact that the government and commercial business are in a pretty good situation. 360% year to date on Palantir. Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. 5:15 is S&P 500 inclusion. 5:15. So if you want to leave and come back in 45 minutes, feel free to do so. Steve said he'll join with his webcam in 3 minutes. So Steve will be here in a second. He's just getting home. But at 5:15, we are going to see what companies get included into the S&P 500. Do you still think people will chase it at these levels? Yeah, I think people in general will always chase at any level. But I think the far majority of people chasing are not people like you and me. I think it's people that manage a couple $1 billion or a couple $100 million, and they need to show some type of return to their clients, and they need to justify that they are part of this whole AI tech wave. And I think what does that mean for retail? That just means sit back and let them chase. For once, there's two stocks that have really had this happen, and that's Tesla and Palantir. Tesla, all retail was early in 2018, 2017, and then the whole street had to chase. And that made retail a lot of money. Yes, Tesla did fall 60%, but still retail made a lot of money. And I mean, even if it fell 60%, if you got in those early years, which I think 2021 to 2023, you could argue were early years for Palantir. Under $20, I feel like is early. But for Tesla, even after 50, 60% drawdowns, you were still up multiple hundreds of percents if you were invested. And retail won over the big guys. I think that's going to be the same thing with Palantir. Although there will be some people that are in retail a high average because they're getting in as the story is, not only developed, but like really getting into stride. There were a lot of people that came in when the story wasn't there. So my point is, I think money managers have to be buying Palantir like they had to buy Tesla at these levels. And Palantir and Tesla are two of the only stocks I know of that have really allowed retail to capitalize on that momentum before big people got in. And that's because they were highly differentiated companies, differentiated products. And those differentiated companies and products created a ecosystem for retail to win. And that has happened for Palantir. My average on Palantir is 21. Again, I wish my average was in the $7 and $8 range. I started buying at 27. I did not have a ton of money when I was first starting to invest back in like 2021. So whatever I had, it was just going into Palantir. So I was buying at 7 or 8, but it was not enough when you have a $27 average to bring it down. So over time, we're here at 21, and I'm probably going to be averaging up next year. I'm probably going to be averaging up because at this point, if we have to normalize buying it at 50, then I want to wait a couple months. But if that's what happens, that's what happens. And it is what it is. But to those that actually have a $7 and $8 average, because you got in low, like my SoFi average is 725 because I got in low. I didn't have to hold the bag for 3 years, right? But there's some people that have to hold the bag. It's just about timing. If you've actually been able to have that $7, $8 average, I think it's a generational cost basis that you're going to have for a very long time, especially if you load it up. If you have like a couple hundred shares, then I think averaging up is not the worst idea because I think position size matters more than cost basis. But if you load it up at 7 and 8 and you really, you haven't done anything else other than just let it compound in the machine that is the stock market, then you are doing very well. All right, Jeremy Siegel, let's see what he has to say about the market, and then we'll have Steve on in about 5 minutes. Here we go.
That is the debate for investors right now as this bull market continues to run. Let's ask the Wharton School's Jeremy Siegel. He joins us now live. Professor, it's nice to see you as always. This has become somewhat of a Friday tradition, and it's a good one to have.
I enjoy it too, Scott.
Some are calling this setup Goldilocks. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, take a look at the employment report. In fact, all the economic announcements over the last week have been very close to target. We had a little weakness in the household report, a little tick up in the unemployment rate, but everything else is working exactly the way the Fed wants. I think we're going to have one rate cut on that December 18th meeting, but truthfully, I think only 2 or 3 rate cuts next year. I think this strength could last, and with the stubborn inflation, I think that the Fed is going to settle down somewhere between 3.5% and 4%. Not the 2.9% that they put in the last S&P report in their September meeting.
So, okay, one in January or December. You don't sound like you think it matters much at this point that, in some respects, the Fed's been taken out of the game. I mean, Beth Hammack, the Cleveland Fed president today, said, quote, "I believe we're at or near the point where it makes sense to slow the pace of rate reductions." Market doesn't seem to really care.
Well, I think you do care. There is an awful lot, and especially for the small firm.
Hold on, guys, real quick. I gotta share this. This. So Farzad, you guys know him, big into Tesla, friend of the channel. He's never done options before. He just bought his first options. He bought a $700 call for June of 2026 for Tesla. I think that dude, I don't know if we get to 700 by June of 2026, but who knows? Maybe it happens. It's just so funny. He has never bought a call before in his life. And here you go, $710 leap. That is pretty cool. We'll go back to the professor, but I think we have the Booz Allen Hamilton dude on CNBC talking about their Palantir partnership. Let's go to him real quick and see what he has to say on this new deal.
Is Booz Allen Hamilton and CEO Horacio Rozanski. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me here. It's great to be here.
So I do want to start with this partnership with Palantir and just what the significance is of it, and perhaps just as importantly, the fact that this is a partnership that was born out of this conference last year.
Absolutely right. Yeah, Alex and I met here last year. We began talking about our companies who already knew each other in the market. And we said, let's do something bigger and better together. And here we are, announcing a year later.
So what does this partnership enable then?
So they have great technology and great people. We have great technology and great people. And the thesis is we can move faster. To me, I'm obsessed with speed. I think our country needs to speed up. I think the Department of Defense needs to speed up. And I think industry plays a role in that. And we wanted to do some work and something tangible to obviously drive revenue and drive opportunity, but also prove the concept that if we get together and we do something together, 2 companies that couldn't be any more different, that something great and fast would happen. And 45 days later, we had a prototype.
Yeah, Booz Allen Hamilton has really been on the forefront in terms of AI development and capabilities as well, particularly where the government is concerned. So what does this do to now, I guess, amplify that? How are you thinking about that type of digitization and adoption with a Trump administration coming in?
So one of the great things is this is going to be our 20th administration transition in 110 years as a company. And we are always squarely in the side of change. And AI is potentially the biggest change we've seen this century and the biggest change that is going to drive national defense over the next 20 to 50 years.
Stocks, defense stocks, including Booz Allen Hamilton and contractor stocks, have sold off since the election. There seems to be this sense in the market, at least among investors, that you're going to have DOGE coming in, you're going to see cuts to government spending, you're going to see layoffs potentially within the public sector, and a lot of disruption. And so investors have been taking that as perhaps a negative for government IT services companies and contractors like Booz Allen Hamilton. Is that a real risk here, or are there potentially tailwinds when we are talking about things like efficiency and productivity and cutting government workers, which perhaps means outsourcing to contractors?
The way we see it is change is necessary, right? It's not that we're doing the wrong things as a country. It's just we're doing the right things too slowly. And DOGE is positioned to act as an accelerator. So we want them to succeed. We need them to succeed. And what's going to come from that is all the things you're talking about: greater use of technology, greater use of dual use technologies, things that have been created for the private sector that can be ported into the public sector, more focus and investment on the key critical missions that matter the most to this country, and look at things that are inefficient and that, frankly, either need to go away or need to be improved. And so, honestly, who can disagree with that?
So notice that's interesting as well. The government contractor is not saying they are afraid of DOGE. They're saying they embrace it because they think we're not spending too much money. We're just spending money on the wrong things. And that means a reallocation of that capital potentially is really bullish for a company like Palantir and Booz Allen Hamilton.
How are you thinking about that across your different businesses? Because you have the defense business, but you also have a civil business.
I think it's true across all of our businesses. You know, we've built a position where we're focused on some of the key missions, the Indo-Pacific, space, public health. These are all areas that are need to be transformed, need to move faster. And our job is to bring these dual-use technologies and make them valuable into those missions.
All right, so that's most of the coverage from that. Steve, what's your first thought on that? Also, why is your headline "Amit needs sleep" underneath your name?
Because you require a lot of sleep.
Are you calling me a little girl who needs to sleep?
That is absolutely not what I said.
All right, whatever. What are your thoughts on the Shyam interview and what Booz Allen Hamilton CEO said?
Well, as I said, as I was getting cut off because I was pulling into the garage underground, that Palantir's going to 90 next week. We only hit 1% of what we're setting out to accomplish. We're going to 90 next week, and we're going to 150 by June and 225 by 2026.
I need you to put that on Seeking Alpha so we can hold you.
That is not going on Seeking Alpha.
I need you to put that on guys, everyone spam Seeking Alpha in the chat. Get Steve to write the article. The article is going to go super viral. You might make more from that article in ad revenue than you do on Palantir. That's how viral it's going to go.
I don't care about that. It's not why I write on Seeking Alpha. I write on Seeking Alpha because I want to.
So if Seeking Alpha didn't pay you, you would write on Seeking Alpha?
I may not write as much, but I would definitely write on Seeking Alpha.
That's fair. I would probably still do this live stream every day if I didn't make my
exactly.
I love talking. So here's the thing. How can, in all seriousness, right? Like, not joking anymore. Like, what do you think about 170 billion in terms of market cap? Can you give me any level?
I want, like I said before, I would like to sit down with who is buying and have a genuine conversation with them about why they're buying at this valuation, what made them change their mind, and what upside opportunities do they say? I truly would like to know that.
So if you speak to someone who is buying at 40, 50, and 60, and I know some of these people, they would say, well, why the hell should I listen to you? I bought at 40, it went up. I bought at 50, it went up. I bought at 60, it went up. I'll buy at 70, it goes up. How would you answer that analysis from that?
That answer right there validates what I said to you on the phone. People are chasing momentum.
Yeah.
That's what I said to you on the phone. Nothing else makes sense except people see the momentum. They see that this is not getting sold off, and they're jumping in, and they're probably just setting stop losses. And it's probably a lot of traders and a lot of short-term investors, which is fine. I'm good with them making money. But, people buying here for a long-term investment when nothing has changed in 3 months. I mean, really nothing.
Well, Trump did get elected.
I don't know if that has that big of an effect.
I mean,
it doesn't change Palantir's business. Palantir, huge government contractor, regardless of who got elected.
Yeah, it's just if it could expedite the government growth beyond what the street thinks, like really be like 60% growth or something. Right now it's like 22%.
Yeah, that could lead to additional revenue from Palantir. There's no question about it. But regardless of who got elected, Palantir was still going to be a very large government contractor. All I'm saying is I would like to sit down with somebody who is not chasing momentum to make money to see what the upside is, because the story hasn't changed from 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, and 60 to where we are right now. It just hasn't.
So how have you reconciled your decision on covered calls? Is your goal just to buy them back and keep going forward?
I don't have a choice. You know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think it makes sense in the long term because I know we're joking back and forth here, but you could see this going back to 30, but you probably don't believe this ever gets back to 30, which means it makes sense to just roll the covered calls. And
but that type of thinking makes me feel, and I have the same type of thinking too, because there's nothing on the roadmap that makes me feel like we're going to hit a recession. And there's nothing on the roadmap that makes me think that we are not going to see 7,000 next year. So, I don't think Palantir is going back to 30. Should it? That's an arbitrary question. Whether it's got to retrace at some point. I think everybody can agree on that.
But that's been said for the past like 5 months, right?
Bring up the chart you had before. It retraced 10, 15%, and it got bought right back up. Go like a 6-month chart. Or maybe go to a 1 month. Yeah, look at that. Like, right. You can't see where I'm fucking pointing. How much did that retrace? Where did that go from?
That's 67 to 59. That's 11%.
Okay, so it retraced 11%, and it got bought right back up and taken higher.
Yeah.
Like that was the only meaningful retracement that we've seen. And it just got bought up. I mean, I don't know if that was around the time of Carp and Teal selling, but the Shyam selling didn't do anything. I mean, you have massive insider selling. Nothing is bringing this down.
So here's the other thing that we've been talking about for a long time. Although retail has indeed taken profits here and there, there's not enough shares left for people, right? Which is why the stock, I think, keeps going higher as well. Retail is not, people who bought at $7 aren't selling. They might not be buying right now, but they're not selling. And I think that's also very powerful in terms of how retail is still controlling the stock to an extent. If you're not willing to get, just like Bitcoin, if you're not giving up your Bitcoin, if you bought it in 2013, so someone's going to have to pay $100,000 for it because it's not coming down that easily.
Well, Palantir continue. Let me make sure I'm correct. They're continuing to issue shares, though. It's not like they're not issuing new shares.
No, that definitely is happening. But the shares get eaten up, even with dilution.
But that's dilution. And that's more shares coming onto the market. And those are more shares that get bought up. There are clearly more buyers than sellers here. I would like to talk to somebody that's an institution that's making decisions for institutions about why they're buying here for the next 5 years, because that's parabolic movement. Go back to the other chart that you just had. That right there is parabolic. And scale back one more.
I'll go to the year to date.
Go to year to date. That's parabolic. I mean, it jumped up, hung out in the 20s for a while, and then once again, it went parabolic.
It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool looking chart.
It's a beautiful chart. But at some point, this is going to get sold off. I don't know when. Maybe it goes to 100 before it gets sold off. Who knows? But stocks don't just go up. And they added more market cap today. I mean, they went up, what, $4, $4.50 a share?
They added basically 10 billion in market cap today, yeah.
Yeah, so they added 4 times the amount of revenue they do in a year in market cap today.
It's pretty wild.
I'm just saying.
Pretty wild. All right, before we talk about your NVIDIA article, because I want to get into that, I just have a question for you that a lot of people have been asking me to ask you, so I need to ask you this question. Which is, why are you so jacked?
What? Dude, I don't work out.
Yeah, but why are you so... Dude, you look like a jacked Clark Kent who's going to save New York. That's what
I'm not jacked.
Why do you look jacked?
I don't know, because you look small. I don't know. I'm not jacked. Like, I showed you a picture of what I used to look like.
I know, but like... Also, here's another question. Why were you angry during this picture?
You guys made me stop eating my steak to take a picture. I couldn't have done that before or after. Like, really?
I wanted to capture the moment, you know? Like, I wanted to... You look so mad that we had to take the picture. Everyone else is smiling.
There's a medium rare steak in front of me on my fork, and you guys made me stop eating to freaking put down. And I think there was steak in my mouth at that point too. You guys made me stop eating.
Well, regardless, it was a fun time meeting up.
I have a question for you. Why is your comment section of your Twitter so fire?
Because people are good at roasting, dude. You saw all the roasting that I got by wearing the Carhartt. People were calling me a lumberjack and all this random stuff. Like, people know how to roast that follow me. And,
I don't think people should make fun of how you eat steak, though.
Yeah, I mean, medium well to me is still...
A lot of people do that. I mean, look, however you enjoy it, you enjoy it. We can disagree on that, but people shouldn't call you out for it.
All right, well, let's talk about NVIDIA. So you are buying NVIDIA. You are buying NVIDIA in the 140s. You like NVIDIA. You wrote an article today I'm putting in the chat. Everyone, please make sure to check it out. What is the NVIDIA thesis here at 145?
All right, before we get into that, I'm going to answer only one question from all your things. And it's not the question that got asked multiple times because everybody wanted to know who paid. And I think who freaking cares about that? It doesn't matter. Like,
I mean, we can say who paid. I don't care.
No, I don't. Why? Doesn't matter. Okay. The only thing I will say is that my working set was 315 for 12. Never maxed out. That's all I'll say.
I think people think you can bench like 600, bro. The way, like,
definitely cannot.
I
don't even know if I could put up 315 today.
All right, NVIDIA. Why are you buying here?
Because it's very undervalued.
Why?
All right. So.
Oh, you did buy. There you go. 132 and 146.
Yeah, I bleeped out the quantity and how much and the actual date. But I bought the other day.
Yeah.
I bought in November. I bought the other day, and it was not 5 or 10 shares.
No, dude. I mean, your buys are like 3,000 shares each. People know. So. Okay, so why is it undervalued here? Can we give us some analysis on this?
So before we go through the numbers, look at that chart. Like, this chart is so freaking crazy. And keep in mind, NVIDIA does not report on a true calendar year. Their fiscal year bleeds into January. So when it says January 2024, it's really their 2023 year. It's not much of 2024. It's just a couple of weeks. So when you look at the year-over-year growth in revenue and their different profit lines, I have never seen growth like this in a 2-year period. It is insane. This is absolutely insane. And it could continue like this for another year or two. The amount of forward growth that everybody is expecting is incredible. And then you start looking at the numbers. Last year, their revenue grew by 125%, and they added $33.95 billion to the top line. Their net income, their net income was, where is it? I should have just put everything in a spreadsheet so it would have been easier. Give me one sec.
Someone said, I like mayo on my steak. Can we get this person out of the chat? Who just, like, there's no way.
Trying to make you laugh.
Mayo on my steak? I don't know how I would react to that. By the way, guys, we do have S&P 500 at 515. Robinhood right now up another 0.5% after hours, 41.93 currently right now. We will find out in about 27 minutes, 22 minutes actually, around about 5:15. We should know. We will see.
So they're expanding their margins. So net income margin went from 48% to 54% to I think 56%. I mean, it is just incredible what they are doing. And they're driving massive amount of profits to the bottom line. Operating income increased by 115% or 38 billion, while net income increased 111% or 33 billion year over year. Like, it's just crazy. And you look at the quarter over quarter growth in revenue. This is a company that just added $5 billion quarter over quarter in 13 weeks. It is absolutely incredible. You look at their forward, go to the last table that I put in, or go to the Seeking Alpha chart of revenue, that one right there. One before that real quick. So the analysts, 54 analysts are saying that they're going to experience 111% revenue growth this year. 59 analysts are calling for 51% revenue growth next year. And then 41 are calling for 20% the following year. So this is absolutely incredible growth. Give me one sec.
So that is one thing on NVIDIA that's also really important. I'll set this up for you here. But this CapEx spend thing, I think, was one of the most important charts. We saw this today by Zucks, right? the 10 billion that he's putting in Louisiana, it doesn't look like Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, or Tesla is really stopping the CapEx spend. And if they're not stopping the CapEx spend, that's going to be important.
This center is, what is it, 1.4 million square feet they're building?
Yeah.
Their largest data center globally. Like, it's freaking crazy. CapEx spend is not stopping. Most of it is going to Blackwell. And you look at what Jensen is saying, and I read it to you when we were on the phone. Give me a sec. I'll tell you exactly. I'll read it to the chat. It's incredible. So Dell announced that it has provided thousands of GPUs to xAI. Meta announced the Louisiana AI plant. And Jensen said that the last generation of foundation models was at roughly 100,000 hoppers, and the next generation starts at 100,000 of their Blackwell series chips. I mean, the growth is going to be incredible. And you start looking at their profitability, they have a 55% profit margin right now. So they are on a run rate to generate around $96 to $98 billion of net income next year, which would be more than Apple. And then you look at the forward earnings over the next 2 years. Right now, NVIDIA is expected to generate $2.95 of EPS this year. 2 years from now, they're expected to generate $5.58. 89.15% earnings growth, and they trade 26 times 2026 earnings. Tell me how that's not a screaming buy.
Do you think there's any fear around cyclicality, or
there shouldn't be?
Why?
Every big company is telling you they're spending whatever they need to, and they're not stopping because AI is the future. So this isn't DRAM. This isn't upgrading laptops. Meta is spending $10 billion on a new data center. The amount of money that is going into this is not stopping. And if Meta is spending, that means that Alphabet has to continue to spend. Same with Amazon, same with Microsoft. Just the four of them spent $199 billion in the trailing 12 on CapEx. A good amount went to chips. So I don't think that this stops for the next 2 to 3 years. I think you have at least 2 or 3 years of solid growth because Amazon just came out and said AMD is not a viable option for AI chips. There's no other game in town.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, the dip at 130 kind of seemed ridiculous after earnings, but it's kind of how the market works, right? Sometimes there's buyer fatigue, and then you tend to have a little bit of a pullback. Right here, Prasant, thank you for the $10 super chat. Broadcom reports in 6 days. Key story: are they winning more business in AI? 0 to 16 billion in AI revenue in the last 12 months. Raised guidance last 3 times. I think that only highlights the NVIDIA argument even more. 0 to 16 billion in AI revenue in a year, raising guidance 3 times in a row. I mean, a lot of that goes back to NVIDIA. And Broadcom's now the 12th largest company in the world, I think. So yeah, TSM that entered the $1 trillion club, but Broadcom looks like it wants to be next. Currently at 838 billion today.
And here's the other thing. Most companies or most people thought Apple would never get to 2 trillion, then 3 trillion. At some point, you're going to see companies at 4 trillion. And at some point, you're going to see companies at 5 trillion. And if NVIDIA continues these growth rates, they are on track to do almost 100 billion in profit next year and maybe 120, 130 the following year. So they're on track to become the most profitable company in the market. And I would argue if they do that, they should get a better valuation than Apple and Microsoft. And right now, Apple's trading at 29.5 times 2026 earnings. NVIDIA's trading at 26 times. Amazon's trading at 29.29 times. So, I mean, I think there's still a lot of upside potential. That doesn't even include if they beat and raise.
So let me get your thoughts on some of the announcements we got from this administration. Guys, in about 15 minutes, we will have news on the S&P 500 companies. David Sachs, AI czar, bullish or bearish?
Super bullish.
For what companies and why is it bullish?
The market, period.
Why?
Shows you where the administration's head is. It tells you a lot about their other picks that are going to come down the road. Tells you they're taking a lot of things seriously. Tells you that they are pro-technology, and this is going to be a wild 4 years in the market. The fact that you are having the PayPal mafia is basically running the government now. Think about that.
That is pretty cool.
You know, like the PayPal mafia is running the government at this point. Let me say that again. So if you don't think that that's bullish for tech, you're crazy. I think that tech is just going to, and I said this before, the big companies, my thesis for 2025 is just get bigger. It's not going to be as easy to find diamonds in the rough. You're not going to find your DocuSigns, which I called. You're not going to find.
We got to talk. I told the chat you called it. You know,
it's very well documented that I called that Fortinet. But you're not going to find Palantir at 16 going to 75. You're not going to find those obvious things. Now, it wasn't obvious that Palantir was going to do this, but it was obvious that there was fair appreciation ahead of itself. There was quite a few things that were quite obvious this year. I think the next year is just the market goes higher because you're going to get earnings expansion.
Steve, I think we have some news on Palantir. Hold on.
So it's at 85 after hours?
Hold on. I think we have some news.
85, Palantir.
Does anyone see new Palantir Anduril partnership? Oh, boy. Hold on, folks. I'll pull up the stock, and I'll pull up the news right after. Robinhood as well, 41.87 after hours. Palantir, whoa, up another 0.5% after hours. Let me try to find the details.
I don't think this is new.
No, 58 seconds ago. This is new. Here we go. Palantir and Anduril to accelerate AI capabilities. Maybe this is why it was moving this morning. For national security. Partnership will facilitate the flow of national security data from the tactical edge to the cloud-based enterprise. Oh boy. All right, here we go. I'm reading it, folks. Not too long of a PR, but let's read through it a little bit and try to get some details. Palantir and Anduril, two leading companies at the intersection of the commercial technology and national security, are launching a new consortium to ensure that the U.S. government leads the world in AI. Our goal is to deliver the technological infrastructure from the edge to the enterprise that can enable our government and industry partners to transform America's world-leading AI advancements into next-generation military and national security capabilities. This partnership is focused on solving two main problems that limit the adoption of AI for national security purposes. The first is data readiness. Most useful national security data, government data that are collected and created by sensors, vehicles, weapons, and robots at the tactical edge are not retrained for AI training and algorithm development. Exabytes of defense data indispensable for AI training and inferencing are currently evaporating. Wow. What should be America's ultimate asymmetric advantage over our adversaries is instead our biggest lost opportunity. To solve this, we will utilize Anduril's Lattice software platform and the Anduril Menace family of deployable compute and communication systems to instrument the tactical edge for the government's secure, large-scale data retention and distribution. Makes sense that they're using Palantir. Obviously, Palantir already has a lot of the authorizations to work in the government. Lattice connects directly with third-party defense systems at the edge, delivers autonomy to machine operations, securely distributes their information across a large-scale data mesh, and backhauls old tactical data into government enclaves for the purpose of AI training and inferencing. Menace devices are also purpose-built for the tactical edge, customized down to the silicon level for the unique requirements of national security operations and tactical environments, including soon next-generation encryption. The second problem that we seek to solve exists when processing data at scale. Even with national security data that are retrained, no secure enterprise pipeline exists to turn that data into AI capabilities. U.S. companies are developing world-leading models, aka all the LLMs, but struggling to deploy them at scale with government partners for defense applications. To solve that, we will use Palantir's AIP platform to deliver a cloud-based data management and AI development capability that operates at the hyperscale of commercial industry while meeting the unique requirements for national security. This will enable the structuring, labeling, and preparation of the defense data for AI training and developments at all levels of classification, including secure compartmented information and special access programs. Palantir's AIP provides a seamless interface for commercial and government AI developers to conduct imitation and reinforcement learning. It also provides a secure pipeline to deploy, retrain, and redeploy these AI models into national security systems, a process made even easier, faster, and more reliable through the integration with Anduril's unique edge capabilities. Last paragraph, We will also provide a rapid and ready mechanism to operationalize these new AI capabilities directly through defense production programs that are already fielded. Maven Smart System, powered by the Palantir platform, provides an enterprise mission command platform that integrates large-scale operational data and utilizes AI-based capabilities to improve and accelerate human decision-making across joint missions such as intelligence and fires. Similarly, Anduril's Lattice software platform provides an edge-based mission autonomy platform that integrates directly with robotic systems and utilizes AI-based capabilities to automate and orchestrate their conduct of joint missions such as air defense and reconnaissance. I'm probably saying that wrong. Anduril and Palantir are joining these complementary systems together, providing a seamless operational capability from the edge to the enterprise that serves as a deployment platform for new AI applications that anyone can build. This platform is already in place and in use by Anduril and Palantir for their own corporate purposes and with government contracts that enables this work to begin immediately. Ultimately, Palantir and Anduril expect to expand the partnership to other industry partners that have unique contributions to make to the mission. No single company is capable of delivering on the promise of AI for national security. Basically, Palantir acknowledging it's going to take a village to get this done. It takes a team of companies that are willing and able to ensure that the U.S. government remains the world leader in fielding advanced technologies that keep our citizens safe. First thoughts, Steve?
I could have swore that I saw this the other day, but maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I mean, this literally came out 2 months
I know, it just literally came out. I know.
Amit flaunting his spreading skills. Thank goodness I can read, bro. This job requires you to read. No, I think this is good. Palantir and Anduril have worked together in the past. Obviously, they've worked together for Titan. I think this is a logical next step for them to create a platform that integrates government data. The retraining and inferencing stuff is very important because you got a lot of people saying that there's not enough data to train to make these models better. In the government, I'm assuming it's a whole different concept in regards to training data and inferencing to make the government models even more effective and safe. If Palantir and Anduril are working together, these are two software companies. Anduril does have a lot of hardware, but they have a lot of software built into that hardware as well, even though they're not pure play software. This makes a lot of sense to me. And here's the best thing. Palmer Luckey, Alex Karp, Peter Thiel, they're all boys with David Sachs, JD Vance, and the Trump administration, which means the next two biggest defense contractors that should benefit over the next 4 years, which makes sense for them to make this partnership, is Palantir and Anduril.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, it makes sense. 76.77 after hours. You know, honestly, maybe this is why the stock was up 6%. It might not sound like the biggest PR, but if the concept of the PR is, hey, we're going to get a lot of government revenue, maybe that's why the stock went up.
Yeah, but at some point, all these things need to translate to increased growth rates and increased profits.
Yeah, but again, the market's forward-looking, and I guess they felt...
it's certainly forward-looking.
Shyam
certainly forward-looking.
Is Shyam on CNBC again? Chad just said Shyam's... Hold on, let me see. Is he on CNBC again? No, Shyam was already there, Chad. We covered him at overtime. He's not on right now. He was on at 4 p.m., so we already watched that. Yeah, that's a very bullish partnership. And they just announced the Booz Allen Hamilton stuff, right? So now you've got the Anduril stuff. I mean, I really think that government growth is the argument for why the street's buying it. Also, Bank of America raised their targets from 24 to 29% on 3-year government CAGR.
Did you see that text I sent you earlier about that person who increased their price target to 90 on Palantir?
Yeah, he's been on the channel, been on the show, Sarge. Yeah. Look, I do think some people are raising their price targets to keep up with the stock. I don't really like seeing...
Going to 90 next week, Amit. Don't you worry.
I'm not a fan of seeing that. But nonetheless, you know, the market's giving Palantir the premium because they think they're going to grow.
90 next week.
I mean, 225 by 2026, you said.
Listen, why not? 275.
All right, so that is the big news on Palantir right here. SMCI apparently got some compliance news. It's up 2.5%. I'll get that in a second. Hood right now after hours is up 0.77%, 41.99. It's moving like potentially they got in. I think we will know in about 5 minutes if they got into the S&P 500. So we'll get that news for you guys live. We will see. But we will find out in just a couple minutes. SMCI gets receipt of extension from NASDAQ stock. They have until February 25th for their annual report. That's the news on SMCI.
Your chat is so fire right now.
Why? What are they saying?
90 bearish. Like your Twitter comments and your freaking chat are awesome.
You know what they said? They said you when you pulled into your driveway, the last thing we heard was 90, and people were like, Carp disconnected his phone because his price target was too bearish.
Craziness. It's absolutely craziness. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. Maybe we're just looking at all this wrong. Maybe we just need to say, you know what? The next couple of years is going to be growth at all costs again. You got a lower Fed. You got a pro-business environment. And we can go through all the reasons why. And maybe valuations don't matter anymore.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we got Robinhood in 5 minutes. We'll see. But Palantir up 0.67% after hours. Steve, if they're going to keep doing partnerships like what they just announced with Anduril, I think the street's going to stop caring. I mean, they haven't cared.
I agree.
But they're going to stop caring about the numbers, and they're going to care about just pure momentum.
You want to know what's going to be the big thing for Palantir? When they start really releasing cool videos with Ferrari. Because really think about this. No. Just go with me on this. And I'm not joking. Ferrari is a high-tech company for racing. They start really showing what they're doing with Ferrari. Like you and I know what they're doing with Ferrari to some extent. But they make some really cool PR videos and show it's capable because they can't really show it's capable with the government. That's going to be another thing.
I think they did that this week, Steve.
I didn't see it. Did they?
I think they did that this week. Yeah.
Look at that.
But dude, you got Ferrari videos, you got Anduril, you got Booz Allen Hamilton, you got Carp being Carp. I mean, you got Trump, you got best friends in the White House. I mean, it's a hell of a time.
I mean, Peter Thiel's still with Palantir, David Sachs, AI crypto czar. I mean, AI czar. Once again, AI czar. Like, yeah, sure, Palantir is freaking going to the moon.
Well, we're at the moon. I think we're going to Mars.
No, I mean, we may still be on the beach. What are you talking about?
Maybe.
We may not have even gone to dinner yet, let alone drinking, let alone getting a cab to go home. I mean, this is like Dan Ives continues to say it's 9 p.m. and the party don't stop till 4. We haven't even gone to dinner yet at this point.
We might not have. Robinhood right here, 41.92 after hours. So, folks, in 4 minutes, this is the website I'm refreshing, which every time it gets like it stops working at the time. But 5:15, we should get the news, and then we're gonna know which company.
If SoFi gets into the S&P, that would be crazy.
Well, SoFi's not getting in today because they don't have the market cap requirements. But it could be Palantir, not Palantir. Palantir's already in. It could be Robinhood, it could be Coinbase, could be Square, could be Workday, could be Trade Desk, could be AppLovin.
Workday's not in?
Workday's not in.
Oh, Workday should get in.
Some other companies. Let me pull this up. Oh, you want to see Chad's tweet today? This is a great tweet. You'll love this tweet. Look at this.
Coal for Christmas for who? The short sellers?
Yeah, because Carp said, you saw that, right? What Carp said? That was great.
Isn't he making shirts with that?
No, not with coal. Maybe that's an idea.
I could have swore I saw somewhere that they're going to come out with like coal shirts.
No, that's probably not happening. But if that did, that would be hilarious.
That would just be iconic.
Block could get in today. Apollo Global Management could get in. Vertiv could get in. Datadog could get in. CCL, Carnival Cruise, could get in. Lennox could get in. First Citizens Bank could get in. Global Foundries could get in.
A lot of companies could get in.
Yeah, so today is going to be important to see who gets in.
So I've been thinking about it.
Okay.
I have a prediction for you.
Okay.
Chamath Palihapitiya, the head of the Small Business Association.
Oh, I like that. I love that, actually.
I'm going to say it. I think it's going to happen. I think he's going to have a position in the government, and I think it'll be the head of the Small Business Association.
By the way, guys, the S&P website, it is not working, as always, so we should know pretty soon. If we see a big move on Hood, I think they got in. If not, I don't think we see necessarily a big decline, but a big move could mean that they got in. Yeah, I think Chamath and small businesses, I think that'd be great. I think that'd be great.
I think you'll see him. I think he's going to get a cabinet position. I think that this is going to be the most pro-business cabinet we've ever seen.
Yeah. No, I
And
think so too.
I'll give you another prediction. I think that this is going to be a booming couple of years, and it could be devastating in the long run, because depending on how much AI runs and how much robotic runs, we have to really start considering what Andrew Yang has been talking about. And he's the only one that's been talking about it since 2016 with UBI, because there's going to be a lot of jobs disrupted and lost.
Yeah, and I think that's a long-term question the government's going to have to figure
I
out.
don't know if it's really a long-term question. We could see
Oh,
serious.
hold on. We got a big red candle. Oh, you guys saw that, right? That wasn't just me.
Yeah, that I saw it.
Then it went back to normal. If that's the first reaction, that means maybe they didn't get in, or that's just algo. Yeah, I don't think they got in. Yep, there you go. We're down 1%. No, we're not. Yes, we are. I think
you can't go off of those couple of seconds.
I feel like yeah, you're right. I don't know.
Look,
If we don't get in,
people on Bloomberg terminals have the information before you're seeing it.
oh, that's usually why there's a reaction, though. Yeah, we're down 1%. Look, if we don't get in, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think 2025 will get in, but there is a shot we do. There's a shot we don't. Yeah, we're down 1.34. I don't think we got in, guys. We're down 1.34. Usually the first reaction is green. Let's go to Coinbase. Let's see their reaction. Coinbase is down 1.4 as well. Square is down 1.5.
Go to Workday.
Who the hell got in, bro? Who they let in?
Go to Workday.
Workday is up. So Workday's probably in. Apollo and Workday, really? They gave it to Apollo and Workday?
You can't be mad at Workday getting in. They deserve to get in.
Dude, who the fuck cares about Workday, bro? Like,
are you serious right
yes,
now?
I'm serious. Who cares about Workday? Like, how is that exciting? Workday.
See,
what type of name is Workday?
It's not exciting. Workday is a cash cow that businesses are tied to.
AppLovin down 7%. Yeah, Hood, Square, Coinbase all down. Now again, they're down 1%. They were up 7% today, but Apollo's down too, though. So I don't know if it's.
Yeah, I don't think people realize. Freaking Workday is one of the largest ERP platforms. Companies from Amazon to Walmart use it. It is a fundamental structure for many corporations.
Okay, that's cool. All right. So
That's cool.
That's amazing. A fundamental structure for companies. Okay, awesome. Great. Look, see, Wes, Workday sucks. I use it every day. No one likes using that.
Yeah, just because you don't like it does not mean it's not relevant. That's the difference. You're not. There's only three really big players in the space: SAP, Oracle, and Workday.
Yeah, it's Apollo and Workday, guys. Ew, that's so annoying, bro. They really picked Apollo and Workday. All right, well, Robinhood will continue to just do what they're doing. Apollo's up 6%, Workday's up 8%. Oh, so who got out? Who got out of the S&P? Only two. Yeah, only two. Look, we saw the November metrics by Hood, so the numbers alone to me are incredibly bullish for Q4. I think December is going to be good as well, but this would have been really nice to see. It's down 1%, not that big of a deal. But I think, yeah, it'll get bought. It'll get eaten up. And I do think people thought they were going to get in today, though, but they went with Workday and Apollo. So there you go.
Robinhood's going to get in. Don't you worry.
No, they'll get in. It's just, it would have been cool to see now. They're definitely going to get in next year. But it's just, even Coinbase, Square, all these guys are going to get in over the course of next year, I imagine.
We just finished at 6,090 on the S&P. Do I have to raise my target price for the article? Jesus Christ.
Okay, hold on. So guys, I'm trying to find out who didn't get in, and then we'll move on to some other subjects because that was the S&P 500 news. I'm trying to figure out who got out of the S&P. Because they had to get rid of two people.
While Mitt's looking, if everybody could click on my NVIDIA article, I would greatly appreciate it. And leave a comment, and I will respond.
Put it in the chat. Put the link in the chat.
I can't. I don't think I'm able to. Hold on.
What do you mean you're not able to?
I don't know. I don't think you set it up so I can actually put links in the chat.
All you have to do is copy it and paste it. That's it.
I should join the chat first, right?
Yeah, you're on StreamYard. The comments are on the side of the stream. I can't find who they kicked out, guys. And S&P website, of course, is not working. Let me see. This is why I need a terminal, Steve.
Yeah, it says the comment has failed to post to you.
Okay, I'll post your article. I'll post. Don't worry, I'll do it. Okay, so here's the article. There it is in the chat. I don't know. I'm trying to see what companies got in. Workday, Apollo. No one's saying who got out. I don't know if you guys have it in the chat. I don't see it anywhere. Who got out? Apollo and Workday, yeah. Those are the names. SMCI was not in the S&P 500. Wait, no, I think they are actually. But I don't see them being out right now. It's not refreshing. Yeah, no one has it, bro. No one has it, right? No one has it. Here's Apollo right here, up 8.2%, or Workday up 8.2%. Apollo's up 5.7%. Hood is down 1%. Coinbase down 1.64. Square down 1.26. And AppLovin is down. Yeah, AppLovin only went up today, apparently, because of the S&P 500 potential, because they're down 6%. Palantir up another 1% in the after hours. Steve, we are 8 cents away from $77 after hours for Palantir.
C. It's going to 90 next week. Don't you worry.
Okay, I still can't find who they took out. All right, we'll move on, guys. Once I know, I'll let you guys know as well, but I can't find the names that.
Should I give my target for next year?
Yeah, so let's move on to macro. Let's talk about macro. Guys, I'll let you guys know who got out once I find the news. So what is your target for S&P 500 next year? And what do you think next year's thematics are going to be about?
I think it's going to be a difficult year to find things that are undervalued. I think it's going to be the big get bigger, and we have a broad market rally for things that have been rallying, but people are not necessarily thinking about. I think it's going to be a year of big tech and value. And I think we see 7,100. I really do. I know that sounds crazy. I know it's above Goldman and everybody else, but there are several very big things to consider. First, I want to see where oil is right now. So crude is at 67.18, fell $1.12 today. Saudi Arabia is going to give an incremental increase this winter, and they're supposed to give 2 more incremental increases in 2025 and 2026. They're bringing production up roughly 300,000 barrels from what I read. The rest of OPEC Plus is also bringing production up. We're entering a period of deregulation, and the U.S. will probably continue to increase production. We could see oil down at 60 or so. The lower oil goes, the lower feedstocks are, the lower input costs are, lower fertilizer costs are. So now you have food prices going down, you have transportation costs going down, and you have just input costs across manufacturing from clothes to plastic going down. So that's going to be good for margin expansion. You have the Fed that's probably going to cut by another 25 bips in a week and a half, taking rates down a full percentage point. And then you have the Fed, who is on a 3.5% target for next year and 3% target for 2026. When that happens, floating rate debt becomes more affordable. Not to mention, companies can take on new debt at lower prices and pay back all the issued debt at higher interest rates. That also creates margin expansion because less goes to interest expenses. If Trump takes corporate taxes to 15%, you're also going to see less expenses. So now you have less in operating expenses because you have less interest, and you have less on the bottom line expenses because you're paying less in income taxes. You're going to see margin expansion without a single dollar increase in revenue. There are a lot of tailwinds behind us, and I'm not seeing, look, we keep getting strong job reports. I'm not seeing anything on the horizon to make me think we're not going to have a strong economy. And if the cost of capital goes down, businesses are more likely to spend because they're more likely to borrow to expand. That money goes to goods and services and flows to the top. So I think it's a year where everything just kind of keeps going up. But I don't think you're going to get the really undervalued things. Like AT&T at 16.5 was a steal. Boring company, huge free cash flow. It's trading around 22, 23. You know, Verizon was trading at 32. Altria Group was trading at 40. I don't think you see that again next year. And don't forget, at some point you have the 6.6 trillion in money markets. At some point, part of that's flowing back into the market. And I think the tipping point is when rates go under 4%.
So what is your target for next year?
7,100.
Okay. Everything you described is basically painting a world where we have pro-growth, low input costs on things like oil, AI verticals that continue to expand. So that means...
So hold on a sec. What you just said, I was saving, but let's go there.
Okay.
What happens when Walmart or Costco or Home Depot or one of these really big companies comes out and says, because of the AI that we've been spending on and implementing, what happens when they come out on an earnings call and says, what would have taken 1,000 people to be hired to accomplish, we accomplished through AI.
By the way, real quick, guys, Corovo and Amentum. Do you know those companies, Steve? They got removed.
Never heard of them.
Okay. Well, those are removed, guys. All right, continue.
That's an inflection point for AI that makes it even more real than it is today.
So the AI verticals, along with low input costs, along with pro growth, is good. So let's talk about bear cases. How can you be wrong for next year? For example, tariffs. Can you speak on that?
I mean, I don't think tariffs are a bear case at this point, but if he goes off the walls and institutes huge tariffs and sticks to his guns and people don't play ball, yeah, you could see supply chains get ruffled and it may be negative for a bit, but I don't see that happening. I think we are the largest consumer nation there is. Everybody wants their products here. I think people are going to get in line. I don't think that it's going to happen. It could be. I don't think it's going to. I think the bear case is more long-term, where if robotics and AI really do expand and really do pick up, at some point, a lot of jobs are going to get displaced. And I think that that's the long-term bear case is, what do you do? And it may not be, and look, there could be recessions and stuff. I don't see it on the next year, but eventually we're going to have another recession. But further down the road, if full self-driving becomes a really big thing, and then in 10 years from now, you start having cabs, trucking industry get disrupted. You have robotics out there that are start by augmenting jobs, but then they just go to replacing jobs because of efficiency. And you can have basically 2 robot teams instead of 3 human teams running 24 hours. Instead of 3 humans at 8-hour shifts, 2 robots at 12-hour shifts, depending on what the charge time and that type of shit is. But you can really see a destruction of the workforce. And I think that that's the ultimate bear case that everybody needs to be concerned with the advancements in technology over the next 10, 15 years. So but for the next couple, I think we're good.
So is there any external bear case outside of macro that you were thinking of?
I mean, Black Swan event with geopolitical conflict, but I think that that's off the table at this point.
Okay, so if we take away the Black Swans geopolitical stuff, and maybe take away Trump going crazy with tariffs, then you're saying there's really not that many bear cases next year.
I'm not smart enough to say it.
But that's what you're implying, right? That it's
I hate saying it like that, but what's the bear case?
It's a good question. I would love the chat to give your bear.
What is the bear case? Okay, sure, the economy could heat up, but even if the economy heats up, I don't know that inflation really ticks up, and here's why. In a pro-growth environment with deregulation, you may actually get supply increase that crushes demand.
So what you're saying, to make that easy for everyone to understand, if we're producing more stuff because we got rid of all the regulations, for example, we get rid of housing regulations, people can make more houses, it's going to create more supply, which means housing inflation should come down. Pretty simple.
Yeah, supply side economics is real. You let the free markets work themselves out. If there is a demand for a product or a service, somebody is going to fulfill that need to make money.
Where do you think the 10-year is going to be next year?
I don't know.
Do you think it stays in this 4.1 range?
No.
Lower?
I think it'll be there for the first maybe quarter, Q1. But I think if the Fed does cut, and if they come out in the winter and keep cutting, that's going to fold under 4% also.
I think that is possible. Thank you for the 5 gifteds. Hail the Great One. Thank you, Hail the Great One, for the gifted 5 memberships. Edgar, thank you for the $2 super chat. What do you think Robinhood Gold Monday will be? I have no idea. For those that don't know what it is, Robinhood's Twitter account put out something saying December 9th to December 16th is something called Gold Monday, some type of promotion. I don't know what they're doing. Potentially maybe giving you 1 or 2% to bring over your brokerage balance. Maybe they do that again, but we will find out next week. Okay, so then here's another question, Steve. I mean, what are the top 3 stocks? And I know it might be hard to break it down, but if you're looking at all the verticals that you're describing for 2025, like for example, Tesla's on my list for 2025. What are the top 3 stocks that are on your list next year of things you're interested in at least developing a position in or adding to the position you have?
Palantir.
Are you being serious, or you're
no?
So be serious, bro. Be serious.
I had to.
Mine's is we'll go 1 for 1. So my first one is Tesla. What's your first one?
Nvidia.
Okay. My second one is Amazon. What's your second one?
I'll give you Amazon because I bought more a month and a half ago, and I would still buy more here. So I like that.
Okay. And my third one, by the way, SMCI, guys, is up because they got an extension. So they're up 7%. They got an extension to file their stuff. That's why they're up 7%. My third one is Grab, but I don't want to say Grab because I've already started buying Grab. So honestly, I'll throw a wild one at you. I'm not fully sold on this, but all right, it's a mix. It's between Shopify and QQQ. And I'm probably going to pick the Qs because that's easier to,
Qs is foundational. Qs is going to do well in this environment. Shopify is going to do well in this environment. Look, I'll find a chart for you that's going to show some really bullish stuff. And remember, I used to be in the e-commerce space. I may know a thing or two about it, even though it's changed quite a bit since I got out, but I still know a thing or two about it. So hold on.
Yeah, and guys, put it in the chat as well. What are your top 3 names you're thinking of? My list is still not fully, there's a bunch of names I'm looking at, but Tesla and Amazon.
I haven't really flushed it out with my top names and stuff, but like I said, I think the big get bigger, and I think the Mag 7 does well. I think Alphabet's going to do really well. I think Meta's going to do really well.
Let me ask you this question, Steve, then we'll go back to this conversation. By the way, SMCI is up 9% now. Sean right here says the consumer is under enormous consumer debt pressure. They are not benefiting from market trends. Huge risk here from consumer debt to home debt. What do you think about that?
Those are not the numbers that I saw when I was looking at trading economics. Hold on. Let me bring up something. Hold on.
Because what Sean is saying is what a lot of people say, which is that everyone's buying on their credit card and they're not going to pay it back. And that could lead to an issue. Now, granted, I don't know if that's necessarily correct to the extent people think it is.
Interest rates come down, the rates on credit cards go down, so servicing debt becomes more affordable. But that's always been the thing. I've heard that for 20 years. That's always been an argument. That never bursts. Not saying it can, but.
Okay, some of these names, you guys have Tesla, AMD, SoFi. So I'll give your list. I'll say your guys' list, and now, Steve, I want to get your reaction to it. So Tesla, AMD, SoFi. Do you like that 3-stock list for 2025?
AMD, I don't know. The other two, yes. Look, Tesla, it's hard to bet against them, right?
NYC Urbanista says Tesla, AMD, VRT is Vertiv, right? VRT. Yeah, Vertiv. Yeah, look, if you're long semis, you believe in the GPU servicing space, I think that makes sense. Stuff to watch is AMD, SoFi, Reddit. I really like Reddit, even though I think it's up, it's getting expensive.
I want to share my screen.
Reddit's getting a little expensive, but I still think their profitable growth can expand them.
Does that look like there's a problem when disposable personal income continues to go up in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean,
we're at the same point we were at when they were giving out all the stimulus checks and we were flush with cash.
Well, people have jobs.
But exactly. You have low unemployment. I mean, it becomes a problem, and that's the bear case, but I don't see it happening next year. I did say I think it's a long-term problem. The biggest bear case is unemployment going up because of automation and AI. But I think that is 5 to 10 years away. I don't think that's a 1 or 2 year problem. But as long as people are employed and there's more GDP, I think people are going to service the debt just fine. It's once you start seeing unemployment really tick up, unless the government puts safe rails about the amount of positions companies, and I don't even know if there's a legal way to do that, but unless there's some type of safeguards where you cannot offset your workforce by X amount with robots or with AI, and you could see a scenario where 30% of the workforce is eliminated in the next 10, 15 years, if not more. So they need to really figure that out. And I think you have the right people in there to really have that conversation and try to figure out ways to not just expand growth, but to safeguard jobs. But that's something Andrew Yang has always gotten right that other people dismissed, and I don't think they should have. But as far as e-commerce, go back to my screen real quick. Why is it not? I got
Yep.
You
got to share a different screen. Yes. Saylor is going to convince Trump to solve the debt by pumpkin Bitcoin.
Oh, God. He's trying to get Microsoft to stop doing buybacks and dividends and buy Bitcoin.
I think Microsoft should buy some damn Bitcoin, baby. I think it's time.
I don't care if they buy Bitcoin, but it's like, don't try to convince this company to spend $60 billion a year on instead of rewarding shareholders with buybacks. Like crazy talk. Anyway, Shopify is very bullish because right now, e-commerce is still less than 20% of all retail sales. Next year, it's still going to be under 20%. It doesn't crack 20% based on projections until 2026. And still, physical retail still grows because of the growth rate that all retail is seeing. I mean, this is so bullish for Shopify, and they're really the only game in town on it. So I like Shopify for next year.
Yeah, and Shopify's Black Friday, Cyber Monday growth showed me that for them to compound 25% again, like that's not easy to do, Yeah. It's one of those companies where I'm probably buying it at an expensive level, 100%, but it's a company I can sleep well at night owning, knowing that it's likely not going out of business over the next decade.
Yeah, and look, there could be some sleepers. Look, there's one that I think may be a little bit overdone right now, and I think Pepsi is a sleeper because everybody's afraid of RFK having enough power to change a lot of things and having them retool stuff. But even if they have to stop using high fructose corn syrup and some stuff like that, I think Pepsi will figure it out. And I think it's a really interesting valuation here. And maybe it keeps going a little lower, but it doesn't seem like it wants to go past that 155 area. Like it really looks like it's trying to establish a bottom when you look at a 1 year chart of it. And
Steve, I have to stop you real quick because Palantir has its $77 after hours.
Wake me up when Palantir is 90.
Dude, the market loves them some Palantir, baby.
Loves Palantir.
I think this Anduril thing was the reason we pumped today, guys. Someone knew. Obviously, someone had to know. I mean, now, again, it's a partnership. It doesn't mean there's a ton of contracts yet, but the market thinks there will be. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, 77 this week, 87 next week, cats and dogs getting married, living in harmony. I mean, what do you expect?
it's pretty incredible, man.
What do you expect? It's all good. But yeah, Pepsi could be a sleeper. And I know you're not going to like this, but Pfizer could be a sleeper too.
Yeah, that one could be.
I mean, I've been wrong on Pfizer right now. It's back to where it was after it started rallying, but 25.73, 6.5% dividend. And let's be honest, this isn't 2021 or 2022 when they were getting the huge boost from COVID. They did $8 billion in free cash flow this year in the TTM, and they have 145 billion market cap. That is not a crazy valuation. That's like 18 times free cash flow. This is interesting. It's trading at less than 10 times earnings. I mean,
What do you think about Google going into 2025?
I love it. I think it's I shouldn't say I think. We have the numbers. I put them in the video article. Aren't they still the most undervalued based on forward earnings? Hold on.
By the way, guys, Hood is at 41.24 after hours. It's down like 1.2%, so nothing too crazy after hours.
I mean, look at this. And obviously, this is not updated with today's share prices. This is off of yesterday's share prices. But they're still the only Mag 7 company that was trading at under 20 times earnings for both 2025 and 2026. So, I mean,
are you not at all worried about DOJ, anything like that?
No, why?
No,
Why?
I'm just asking. Are you?
That's a tailwind now. Does anybody think Lena Khan's keeping her job?
I think it'll be a little tough.
Like, let's really be honest about this, okay? David Sachs is now the AI and crypto czar. Do you think that there's a chance?
Yeah, that's fair. It's a fair point.
I mean, they're bringing in all pro business people. If you haven't read it, go read her thesis on Amazon, the Amazon Paradox, in the Yale Legal Journal. I mean, look, the bottom line is Sachs is on record saying that breaking up Amazon and breaking up Alphabet would be a detriment to our AI strategy and our national security. He is on record saying that. I think that this is a moot point. It is not happening at all, because if you break those companies up, you give an opportunity to our adversaries to outflank us on AI. I don't think it happens.
Okay, what do you think about let's we haven't really talked Tesla. I mean, 391 after hours. I'm gonna have to start my position in the 400s. It is what it is. Would you be buying Tesla at this level?
I mean, this is another one that makes no sense on the valuation right now, but the robot business should be bigger than the car business. So you're buying it at a crazy valuation now for something that could become the biggest company in the future. So, I mean,
by the way, have you ever, guys, I don't know if I told you, I think I said this morning. Steve, have you ever tried FSD?
Have I ever tried it? No. But my cousin has a Tesla and he says it's amazing.
Well, I tried it today. It is, there's little hiccups here and there, but it was wild, bro. For a car to drive me around, like, I mean, you feel like you're living in the future, bro.
Yeah, I am fully aware.
I think Trump and Elon's relationship, if nothing bad happens to that relationship, this is going to be the stock of the next 4 years that benefits.
So can you pull up that thing? Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody in your chat said that David Sachs is in favor of a breakup. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could have swore on All In, him, Chamath, Freeberg, and J. Cal, they all had this conversation. They were against breaking up these companies because it would hurt the future of AI infrastructure in the US. But maybe it was just Chamath that said that. Maybe I'm incorrect. I'll have to go back and listen. I thought it was both of them that agreed on that.
Well, look, even if David Sachs wants to break up Google, I think Trump doesn't want to break up Google, which is the most important thing. Second of all, Sachs is not going to control everything. He's just going to help influence some regulations. And those regulations might not be uber friendly to Google because Sachs cares about startups. But that doesn't mean they're going to be, we're going to break you up and completely take away Chrome from you type of regulations, right? So even if it's neutral and Google's just allowed to do their thing, then I think they should be fine.
Yeah, I think Alphabet's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty hard to break them up.
So on Tesla, are you buying at 391 or no?
No, I'm not buying, but I could see why people would want to because I think it's just inevitable about robots.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd be buying it for the robots as well. I mean, I think you kind of have to here. Okay, so Salesforce. Thoughts on Salesforce?
I love it.
Do you like it at 362?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to really read through the conference call and you really got to look at it. And look, I'm looking at it from a different perspective because I know what its use case is and I've used the product before. And all the companies are using it. What they are doing with AI agents could be a huge facilitation of growth in the future. I think it's going to really benefit companies. And I think it's going to lead to big net dollar retention for them. So I like it.
By the way, you know a stock that's $15.96 that I told you to look at when it was at 14?
Grinder,
baby. Grinder. I'm in 1,500 shares at 14. I don't know if you know.
Good.
I'm in. Grinder.
Good.
There you go.
Like
we got some super chats here. Thank you, Shun Chan, for the 100 Hong Kong dollars. Appreciate that. Thank you for being here. And then Khan Nguyen, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you, Amit. Thank you for being here as well. Thank you all for being part of this community and being part of the chat. Uber is down. It's had its worst week in 3 years because it looks like the market thinks robo-taxis are taking over. Would you be a buyer of Uber here?
No.
Why?
Not into it.
Do you think that Tesla beats Uber?
I think Uber is going to have some issues in the future. I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty hard when robo-taxis actually become a thing.
Yeah.
Unless Uber just freaking buys all Teslas and gets rid of human drivers. But
no, but even then, why does that matter? Because like Tesla will be buying Tesla, right? Like
I think the easy money on Uber's made. Like that's the question I ask right now. Has the easy money been made or not? And I think Uber is one of those ones that maybe it can keep going up, but the easy money's probably been made.
Yeah. Intel, Pat Gelsinger is out. Do you like that or hate that?
I mean, I don't think Intel's going under. I mean, like Intel's a sad story. I don't know what to think at this point. I want to see who they put in. I want to see right now it all hinges on who they put in, what the future story is and what they're going to try to achieve. And if an activist comes in or if Qualcomm tries to take them over now. There's a lot of things in limbo right now with Intel.
I mean, it's been a bad year for Intel, dude.
It's been a bad year for Intel.
And getting rid of and I think the board ousted him. I don't think he just, walked up and left.
Yeah, I mean, Intel's too important to personal computing, and I keep saying it. ARM is not taking over x86 chips, guys.
Well, a lot of people disagree with you on that.
I know, but how many? Let's do a little study. Go to microcenter.com.
No, we've done this 20 times. We're not doing it again.
No. This is not Passmark. Go to microcenter.com.
We've seen this chart a billion times.
No, it's not a chart. Go to microcenter.com. Go to computers and tell me how many computers have ARM chips versus AMD and Intel that you can buy. Like none.
I don't know if this is the best analysis to decide.
Go to products on the top. Go to computers. Pick all desktops or all laptops, whatever you want. And scroll down and look at where it says chips. Because it's going to say chips somewhere. It's going to give you a choice of Intel or AMD or something else.
I just command F
I think
chips.
you just missed it.
You mean on the left-hand side of the screen, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean brand?
Not brand. Go down a little bit.
Oh,
Right there.
AMD Intel.
CPU brand. Oh, really? Oh, there's no freaking, what do you call it? ARM there. None. And then if you go to freaking laptops, there's even more versions. And there's probably going to be like 10 because Surface is the only one that has an ARM chip.
I'm just saying people don't think Intel innovates. That's the problem.
I'm not saying that Intel's a great innovator. What I'm saying is Micro Center is one of the largest places you can buy computers from other than Newegg on the web. And if they're not giving you options for freaking ARM chips, I mean, why does everybody think like right there, Snapdragon 8 chips, and that's based on ARM?
What is a Snapdragon?
It's from isn't Snapdragon Qualcomm/ARM?
It sounds like
just
something Snapdragon.
I don't know. I don't think x86 is going anywhere.
Oh, Snapdragon's from Qualcomm, I think. Okay, so yeah, from Qualcomm. Okay, so all right, so but are you a buyer of Intel at 20 or no?
I mean, I own it. I would consider buying more.
Okay, what about Netflix?
I don't understand how Netflix is this high.
I mean, they have the best content.
They do not have the best. Stop it. That's blasphemy.
I mean, everyone seems to be subscribing to Netflix.
Who they subscribe to and who has the best content is. I can spend 20 minutes and not find anything to watch on Netflix.
I agree with you, but the problem is if they keep growing subscribers, that means we're wrong. The market
100%.
the market's telling us that we're wrong.
100%. $400 billion company, and they're doing $37 billion in revenue, and they're doing almost $8 billion in net income, and their free cash flow is at.
Let me ask the chat. Palantir right here, 7740. Maybe we're going to 78, Steve. Who has bought a Netflix subscription, canceled it, and re-signed up? Put in the chat if you've done that.
Oh, I think I've done that 5 times.
No, but I've never done that. A, because I'm lazy. B, because we've had a Netflix subscription for like 10 years in our family. And like, you know, the whole family watches it whenever. So it's whatever. But who actually goes in and out and like subscribes, unsubscribes? Because I'm too lazy to do that. But I'm curious. Because I think a lot of people, dude, like they just, even if they don't watch it, they keep it. And that's another reason why Netflix continues to get these revenues. I resubscribe to Netflix when I want to watch Breaking Bad for the 19th time. That's fair. I've watched Breaking Bad probably 5 times. And that is one good show they have. SMCI is about to go to 50. SMCI. Wow. SMCI. Dude, is this extension that bullish? Holy crap. They're up 13% after hours. Palantir's up 1.45%, 77.45 after hours. And SMCI up 13%.
I think Warner Brothers Discovery is a sleeper.
Yeah, but they have too much debt. And that's the problem.
Yeah, they're up 26% in the past month.
Yeah, that is also true.
I mean, free cash flow is pretty good. They've been paying down debt. I still think somebody's going to acquire them.
Okay, we got about let's say 15 minutes left. Put a stock in the chat that you guys would want some comments on Steve on. And if he knows nothing about it, he'll say he doesn't know, but put a ticker and I'll hit them to Steve and we'll see if he's bullish, bearish, any unique thoughts he has at all. SoundHound, do you have any thoughts on SoundHound?
I don't even know what SoundHound is.
They're an audio AI company that NVIDIA invested in, and they're up 12% today.
I mean, great chart. Wish I invested. I don't know. I have no idea about it.
Okay, MongoDB.
I don't follow them that much.
Okay, Rocket Lab.
Isn't that Money Rocket?
Seriously, Rocket Lab. Would you think of getting into it next year?
No, I'm not buying this whole thing with them.
No. Okay, you can't just say you're not buying this whole thing. You're upset you missed out on it. So am I.
I'm not upset. I don't get upset.
You're definitely upset, Steve.
Why am I upset?
Because you could have bought it at $6 and you didn't.
Sure, I could have. I didn't, but I'm not. Just because the stock has gone up doesn't mean that I've changed my outlook on it. I don't understand how they're going to make money. I don't like the financials, and it's not for me.
Okay. Oracle.
I haven't looked at Oracle, but like Oracle a lot.
Applied Digital.
Don't know what they are.
NVIDIA bought 7 million shares of them as well last quarter. Celsius.
Has anything changed since you and I last looked at it and I said I didn't like it?
Okay, so far, you and I have both been bearish on Celsius, and we've both been right so far. I don't know why people think energy drinks are the future. I don't get it.
They're horrible for you. You have a guy that's in this administration that is super big on health. And I don't know.
I don't get why people like this. I really don't. I just don't get it. And if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong, but I don't get it. Cheesecake Factory. Any thoughts on that one?
I've never really looked at it.
Square.
I think Square is going to do good. I dislike Dorsey, and I dislike how much they pay the executive team through share-based compensation. But I think Square is going to do well in the next 2 years.
They were Bernstein's top pick for 2025.
I could see that.
Hims.
No comment.
Okay, guys, we're not going to talk Kohler. We are not talking penny stocks, please. I know you guys.
I don't even know what that is.
Yes, Steve does not follow penny stocks, so we're not doing penny stocks.
BlackBerry's interesting.
That one's. Dude, there's a big
because
BlackBerry.
they have a bunch of patents on stuff.
No, dude, BlackBerry transitioned to cybersecurity, and like management is not executed this whole year. Like I know a couple people who are heavy in BlackBerry, and they're really upset with the performance from management. But there is a little thesis there, definitely on BlackBerry. They're not the same phone company anymore. Well, I mean, let me ask you this: SoFi, would you buy that at $16 next year?
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, you have several big things with SoFi. Still big short position, so you could see a big short squeeze. You have, at some point, you're going to get information about the RFPs, and I think that they're going to win a couple, and I think that's going to be big and give them a tech multiple. And I think member growth grows, and I think that they get into one of the major indexes sometime next year.
Okay, UPS.
I have to look at it again. I did like UPS. I have to look at it again because it keeps falling.
Apple.
I love Apple.
Would you buy it at $242?
Yeah, because it's going to go higher.
I hate how confident you are, but you're right about this. So,
I must have written 30 articles about Apple, and every time I give a new price point, everybody says I'm crazy, and it just keeps doing it. This is going to consolidate, and then it's going to go up 10, 15% over like a month. And everybody's going to be like, what happened?
Okay, Reddit.
I don't know enough about it. Everybody loves it for some reason. I don't know enough about it.
Okay, PayPal.
I think it keeps going up. I think you're going to have a big Q4.
PayPal's at 90. Holy
Yep.
crap. Palo Alto Networks.
I think it does well. I think cybersecurity is going to be really good.
That one's over 400, folks.
Yeah, I don't know about the valuation, but I think cybersecurity is going to be good next year.
Are you long banks next year?
I think Citigroup is my favorite right now still. I mean, Citigroup is still – I did a whole article on this the other day. They are undervalued in my opinion. Book value keeps going up. Tangible book value keeps going up. I think they trade at 22% discount to tangible book value and like a 30% discount to book value. They have an LDR ratio that's like 0.52, which is super low. I'm a fan. Their whole revitalization's working.
Sirius XM.
Yeah, I think Sirius is interesting.
You think Buffett's buying it for a reason?
I think that he's buying it for the satellite infrastructure.
I mean, that would explain at least some reason for why he's buying it. Costco?
Overvalued.
Costco's $8
Way.
away from 1,000, bro.
Way overvalued.
When did Costco get to $9.92?
Costco's just been going up. That's all Costco does is go up.
But why do you think it's overvalued?
Like, you want to talk about something that's uninteresting? Costco.
But boring has been good for Costco.
Yeah, I get it, but you look at their margins and look at what they're doing compared to Target or even Walmart at that point. It's just the margins are not great at all. None of the margins are good. They're thin. But Costco is just so overvalued right now.
Nike?
I'm growing on Nike. I never thought I'd say that in my life.
Will Murray, thank you for the $2 super chat. MP Materials.
Yeah, I've never really looked at that. Them and Marvel, I've never really looked into. I know a lot of people like them.
What do these guys do? MP?
I'm not even sure.
MP Materials. I feel like I've heard this name too. Is it in the semi space? No, they're a mining company. Okay. Rare earth minerals mining. So do you think value stocks are going to do well next year if you think the S&P is going to 7,000?
Yeah, I think there's a broad market rally coming.
So can the S&P go to 7,000 and value stocks do well? Is that possible?
Yes.
Why?
Because the Mag 7 is going to keep going up. That doesn't mean that you can't have a broad market rally also. The Mag 7 is going to expand earnings most likely. They're going to keep going up. Who the hell is selling those companies? That's the first thing. Like, who's selling Meta here? Who's selling Alphabet? Who's selling Amazon? So I don't think that you have a problem there. And I do think that people, look, if you have $6.5 trillion sitting on the sidelines in money markets, you missed one hell of a rally. These people are not concerned with capital appreciation. They've been farming yield. And that's why I say the Fed has to get to under 4%. That way, money markets and CDs are under 4%. And once that happens, I think the risk-free rate of return will not be attractive anymore. And people will start looking for value stocks with a good dividend, and stuff like Pepsi will be exciting. And I think stuff like that can run. I think you will see a value broad market rally.
No, I think it's possible. I think a lot of stuff can go higher, even if the broader market goes higher. Walmart next year?
Walmart's up so much right now, but yeah, Walmart can keep going.
Russell or S&P 500 next year?
Why does everybody like small caps so much?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Have you seen the numbers?
I don't get it.
What do you mean you don't get it? The thesis is pretty obvious on small caps. There's not.
Oh, why? Because lower freaking interest rates, that whole thing. Yeah, I guess. I would still rather be in the S&P.
I'd rather be in the S&P too, but I think small caps could perform.
Yeah,
better.
so sure they could, but I'd rather be in the S&P.
The other one, Alibaba.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked it retraced again. I mean, we'll see. I've been wrong on it. So we'll see. I think Baba's going to be fine. It's just taking a really long time. Why are they talking about your buddy Rick?
Oh, wait. We got to take a look at Rick, bro.
Why are they talking about your buddy Rick?
Did anyone actually buy Rick? Let me know in the chat. Look at Rick. Past 6 months, up a nice 12.87%.
Hey, the economy's coming back.
For those that don't know, Rick RCI Hospitality Holdings is a strip club stock. So if people have more money to go to strip clubs,
It's a hospitality company.
I'm just saying you and I need to go do some due diligence on Rick.
No, you just need to look at this and you just need to see if it's going up or down. It's an unofficial economic indicator. That's all.
Dude, when you called me 3 months ago and said it's
Are
an
people spending money in the economy or not?
this is an unofficial economic indicator. Like
It's an unofficial economic indicator.
Goldman Sachs, do you like them?
Yeah, I think Goldman and Morgan do well. I think you'll probably get more IPOs. I think you'll see more M&A activity. I think they'll do well.
You're warming up to Grab as well.
Yeah, I like the numbers.
Can I tell the story on how you warmed up to Grab?
It's not true. You got me interested.
No, guys.
Chris did a really good job.
No. Let me explain. it. So 2 days ago, we're all three of us are on the phone, and I'm like, Chris, can you, Steve's still on the fence about Grab. Can you give him the thesis? And then Chris talks for 20 minutes. Steve says not a word for 20 minutes, bro. This is the most silence I've heard Steve in my whole life. First word after Chris is done. All right, I'll put an order next week. And I'm just like, Steve, I've been saying what Chris has been saying. Granted, Chris said it in a prettier way, but we got you on board.
He painted a different picture than you did, but the picture you painted got me interested enough to really go through it and look at it and get interested.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but guys, again, Grab is not one of those names where there's gonna be a constant update every day. Like if you buy it, you have to have a price target, and then you kind of just got to leave it and hope the thesis plays out. It's not one of those exciting names that could go up 2% every day like Palantir.
I mean, Palantir's 88 next week.
You said 90. Why are you 88?
Sure. 92. Why not? 92.
What do you think about Blackstone?
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably do good. I think the financials are going to do good. I think business development corporations are going to do good. I think it's going to be a good year for those.
Okay, so another one is, do you know Nebius Group, NBIS?
Never heard of them.
I never heard of them either, but they're up 18% today. Apparently, they got a $700 million investment from NVIDIA last week, $7 billion company. I'll take a look at this one, Paul. I'll take a look at this one. Thank you for the super chat.
Interesting.
Arista Networks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a interesting one that just keeps going and going. People love their networking equipment. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that whole sector does really well because you're going to need so much more hardware for networking with all the data centers coming online.
Nubank.
Tanner's tried to get me on this. I don't know. It's not interesting to me.
Realty Income.
Realty income. It's realty income, not reality income. What are you doing? Yeah, I like it. I think it's undervalued here.
I like reality income better. Why didn't they pick reality income? Realty is such a weird word. Realty. Dude, pick reality.
For real estate? Really?
Yeah, reality income. I like that.
You should write them a letter and see what they say. You know what? You should send a question in for their freaking next shareholder conference.
I mean, what would I mean, if I do, I don't think they would like my suggestion, but I would try. Victoria's Secret. Any thoughts on that one?
No clue.
VSO, right? VSCO. They're up 11% today. People are buying lingerie again. I guess that's bullish, right? If you have the disposable income, that's.
I mean, look at Abercrombie and Fitch. Look at that stock.
Yeah, that's done.
What that's done in the past couple of years. Crazy.
Chipotle.
People love it. I don't know. I never really looked at it.
It's up like 40% this year. Neo.
I have no thoughts on Neo.
Microsoft.
That's the only Mag 7 stock I don't own. Well, I shouldn't say that. My wife may own it. I don't think we own it.
But do you like it here or no?
Yeah, I think it keeps going. It's Microsoft. I'm not buying that Microsoft Office and Windows is getting disrupted. I'm not buying that freaking argument.
Yeah, it would take a big thing to disrupt the billions of computers that have those right now. Lululemon.
I don't know. I've never really dug through it.
They had a good earnings, up 16%, and they were down 40% to start the year, or like by the middle of the year. So they've recovered a decent amount, which is not bad. All right. I think that's pretty much it, guys. We got through most of these names. I'll do some quick rapid fire. TSM.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
UiPath.
Don't know what that is.
Home builders, like Lennar.
Yeah, I think home builders would be good with rates coming down.
First Solar.
I would stick away from anything solar right now.
Fastly, if you know this one.
Sounds familiar, but I don't know it.
MicroStrategy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of got to be bullish on MicroStrategy at this point, right?
Okay, and let's end it off with this question. Ryan, thank you for the $10 or $5 super chat. Amit, I still have 10,000 Palantir shares. My average is 856. What's going on? And Steve, would you buy Alibaba? Okay, so first of all, if you have 10,000 Palantir shares at 856, I think you should enjoy it. And if you need to take some profits, take some profits. But ultimately, I think that is a generational cost basis on a company that can be very important. Steve, what is your reaction to that? And then would you buy Alibaba?
This is why Palantir is just going to go up because nobody.
No one's selling.
Nobody's selling. I'm not selling. This guy's not selling. You're not selling. Nobody's
Steve, think about that. Hold on. Let's just do the math. He spent.
I get it.
He spent 10,000 times 8.56. That is $85,000. Stock's at 76, 77. So he's at 770,000 minus 85,000. He is up 685,000, and he's not really thinking of selling. This is why.
Nobody's selling.
This is why.
Nobody's selling.
This is why. It's pretty incredible.
Like, doesn't that make you wonder that nobody's interested in taking profits?
Well, it's not that I don't think people are compelled when they're looking at 800 grand on their phone to take some profits. I think people are just thinking this thing could be much bigger than what even people thought that it could be.
Okay,
years ago.
But in all seriousness, to get a double out of it, right? And here's where it is. This doesn't go for that person because that person, for it to double, it just needs to go up another $9. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what their cost basis is. But for Palantir to double from here, it needs to go to 155.
Well, you said it's going to 150 next year.
Oh, 225 now.
In all seriousness, look, Amazon and Tesla were expensive for years. Look where they are now. I think that's what people are thinking for Palantir. That's it.
Yeah, I get it.
Wow, CNBC just talked about Grab? Huh. Interesting. Getting a little bit of exposure on Grabby Grab. Look at that. All right. Not bad.
Look at them.
All right, folks. I think that's it. Steve, thank you for showing up. Let me put your Twitter in the chat. Everyone, please make sure to follow Steve. He's at 6,300 followers. If we can get him to 6,500, that would be amazing.
No,
Seeking Alpha.
Follow me on Seeking Alpha.
Yeah, let me put that there. His Seeking Alpha is on his Twitter, but I'll put his actual Seeking Alpha.
Somebody thinks I just bought Palantir.
Well, this is the fun thing. Steve's been talking about Palantir since $8. But, like, obviously, no one expected this. And there we are. But why don't you tell everybody your plan with the covered calls? How do you plan to get out of them?
By writing a big check.
Yeah, but you're going to get some money from some other stocks and navigate the position. And this is what I told Steve. I said, once you get out of those covered calls, you will feel so much happier about Palantir being up because it's not going to sting that you have the covered calls.
But it doesn't sting.
Oh, it absolutely. Steve, for the past 5 weeks, it has stung so much. And then finally,
sting.
We're still getting some sting from you, but now it's at least a sarcastic
It's just annoying. Sting. It doesn't sting.
It's at least a sarcastic, well, it's going to go
sleep like a baby.
If Palantir if you had no cover calls, you would sleep better than a baby.
I sleep like a baby. I can't sleep any better than I already do. So the calls that I have are currently going for 42.38. And I am going to roll them a very high way up and probably roll them out to 95, which are going for 23. And pay the difference per share,
which is about 30 grand for those wondering.
That's probably more than that at this point. I'm just doing quick math. I don't know.
And you know what's funny? You know what's funny about this? Someone had a comment that the reason Palantir keeps going up is because all of the bulls have to roll their covered calls, which creates kind of like a gamma squeeze on the stock, and it does create more buying pressure at the end of the day when you're rolling the call.
It doesn't make sense for me not to do it though, and here's why. If I don't, my calls are at 45. So if I can get another 45 or 50, even if I go to 95, I can get another $50 on the strike price. at a fraction of what that spread is.
Yeah, you make another 50 grand. It's not bad.
So it doesn't make sense for me not to do it. And if Palantir happens to fall right after I do it, I can reverse roll and start making some of that money back and buying back some of the time. So I'm basically taking profits from somewhere else and upping my time frame, but increasing my profitability on my shares of Palantir. So
All right.
don't have a choice. Like,
There
it's
we go,
not
folks.
so much. I don't have a choice.
Yeah, it is what it is. You'll feel better after you do it.
I feel fine.
You'll feel more than fine when those Palantir profits
Well, I
are.
don't know. I can feel more than fine. I feel fine.
It's okay, dude. It's okay for it to sting. It definitely stings. I don't think you can say it doesn't sting. But
Very easily, it doesn't sting.
What's gonna sting is if you roll and then Palantir drops to 40. That's what's gonna sting.
That would piss me off.
That would piss off a lot of people who've rolled as well.
Yeah. Oh, if I do this and then like the next week, it just starts going down. Like, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Because I'm planning on doing this before the end of the year. So if they freaking come out with earnings in January and it just has a free fall, I'm going to be so mad.
That's gonna be February, so you're gonna have to wait 2 months. But yeah, that would suck.
And here's the problem. If I wait and I don't do it, you know what's going to happen. It's just going to go to 110 after earnings. So it's either going to 110 because I do nothing, or it's going to 40 because I freaking bought back the contracts. So we'll see.
All right, that's it for us. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back for Palantir Weekly in like 5 hours at 11 p.m. Thank you all for joining. We'll have a lot to talk about on the show tonight, especially this Anduril news and all that stuff. And we'll keep going from there.
Everyone sell when Steve rolls for the memes. Oh, that would be hilarious.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for all the support this week. It's been a fun week. We'll get back to the grind Sunday night on the Future Show. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Good night.